Hail to thee, my kindred. I hope you're all having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and, and night, wherever and whenever you are. Very sorry about that. I don't know what that was. Something got stuck in my throat for no reason. But hi, how are ya? This is the Witchling Marjolaine. That sounds very French to me. And with this music, it's either coastal music or very French coastal music. I can't help but think that, like, this name, Marjolaine, is supposed to be French. I don't know. I'm not too well versed in the realm of names. This game is another, what do they call it? NaNoRenO submission, a 2021 by Unfinished Circle. That is Unfinished Circle, as in almost spelled like the word circle, but not really. CIRCL. That's how they decided to spell circle, and it's all in one word. The story, or the synopsis, I guess, of the game is that one lazy morning, an old man wanders into a witch's shop. The young witch Marjolaine greets him at the counter. The old man produces a box which he claims to contain his heart, and asks for it to be delivered. The store's owner, the wise Madame Odette, refuses to do business with the man, but a revelation leads the apprentice to accept the request, even if it is against her master's wishes. With nothing but a picture to go on, the wishling heads out into the city. That got my attention. It sounded like a cute little story. Wanted to see how it went. It should be short. I don't know how short it'll be, because 10k words, that's not time to me. The 10k word long script is what it says. That's how many words there are in this entire story. So I don't imagine this one's gonna be too long. We could just kind of chill here for a little while. I think I will just chill here for a little while, actually, before I even start the game. There are some other games I was looking into that were a part of the NaNoRenO 2020 submissions, like Spellbroken, and another one that I forgot the name of. Flop City Gaiden. That one I was also interested in, having a little peek at. Although, I don't think some of these probably aren't on Twitch's category little system that they have. So I would have to check. I know Spellbroken is. I don't know about Flop City Gaiden. I imagine that one might not be a thing. Let me check. Flop City. Nope. Still, I could play it under games and demos, which wouldn't be much of a problem at all. Not at all. I had some cheese. I had some, like, cheese. You know how there's mozzarella sticks? Not mozzarella sticks, but like, no, like literally mozzarella sticks. Not the fried kind, but the ones that come in the little plastic thing. Apparently, those also exist for normal, like, yellow cheese, which we also got. And then I ate the last one, because I was hungry, even though I just ate, like, a couple of minutes prior to eating that stick of cheese. Listen, your man is a hungry boy. Your man is a hungry boy. What had I even eaten today? A chicken wrap, 2 chicken wraps, homemade, kind of, sort of. The chicken wasn't exactly homemade. It's one of those you buy in the bags and then you just toss them in the oven and then they sort of, bake / fry. It really depends. Does it count as frying if the chicken's own fat causes the outside layers to fry? I think that can count as frying. It's very minimal frying, but mostly baking. It was those little kind of chicken strips with tortillas, and that's what I had. I had 2 of those with some cheese in it and mayonnaise, because I like myself a chicken wrap. I've tried to had some chicken wraps from, well, like, your typical fast food place. Issue is they sell them for quite the expensive amount. I feel like fast food places all around have been gotten a little too expensive to really consider them a proper place to get any food from anymore. At least certain places. Other places are doing a little bit better, but honestly, it feels like you may as well save a couple of dollars more and just head over to some low-end restaurant, you know, like a family restaurant, something like that. It's not a family restaurant as in it's owned by people, but like as in like a Chili's or something. I don't know what they categorize these places at. Yeah. I got some coffee with me. Coffee. I love my coffee. I'm running out of coffee out of my little jar of instant coffee. Running low on it. And the funny thing was that the matriarch last night went to the grocery store. She could have gotten me some if I told her to get me some, but I didn't tell her to get me some, so there will not be more. I will have to ration my very minimal amount of powdered instant coffee until we go to the grocery store. That, or I can just try to find one nearby, although the jars that I get are kind of tall. They're like a foot tall. So, usually if I go to another store, they're gonna sell me the same kind of stuff, but for less amounts, meaning the jar is smaller by a lot, and and the price is about to be the same. So I'd rather buy something that's like $10 and is worth 4 little jars than buy something that is $5 and it's only 1 small jar's worth of instant powdered coffee, whatever the hell you want to call it. I haven't had normal coffee in a long while. Like normal coffee machine coffee. I used to, but then I got lazy. I got rather lazy. I didn't want to keep, washing the damn machine, and I didn't want to hear the machine because the machine is loud. It's one of those very shitty plastic ones too. It's not anything to run home about. Or write home? Is it write home or run home? I think it's write home. Yeah, it's right home. Alright, I did sleep this time around. I did rest. Kinda, sort of. It didn't feel like I had rested, but I did rest because I woke up. I know that much. I took my morning nap and I did wake up, meaning I did fall asleep. I just don't know when exactly I had fallen asleep. I don't remember if I did sleep last night, though. Probably not too much, considering I don't remember. Anyhow. I shall continue on with the game now. I think I've yapped long enough. Not really, but we're probably gonna stretch out the game a little bit anyways. Anywho. Marjolaine sat at the counter, as she had for many days prior. As slow as business had been lately, it made little sense to be opening so early. Had there been a single day with more than 2 deliveries recently? Don't know. What are those things in the background? One of those is like an airship. The other one sort of kinda looks like an airplane. Just 2 shadows moving in the background. Maybe it's another airship. Perhaps she would abandon the counter and pop over to the bakery down the way for a croissant or 2. Yeah, this is definitely French. French coastal town with a French witch. She could almost smell him. I like the cute little design. Look at the room. You got brooms of all kind. 1 broom over the door, 2 brooms over this little waiting room area, an umbrella there. It's kind of dark in here, though. I guess the bioluminescent lighting is there to solve that issue. Maybe this is a day-only shop. And they only have 1 window open. The other window's closed. Open that window up, bro. It's a little too dark. The butter, the flour, still steaming in the cool morning air. And dripping into one, oh, the way they would crackle. Would croissants really crackle, though? Croissants don't seem like a crackling kind of food. But she had yet to add the ultimate topping. Raspberry yam. That does sound pretty good. Just a bit off the knife. cellar cold enough to brace against the warm, flaky divinity. Her eyes glazed over. Marjolaine, close your mouth. You're drooling all over my counter. And instantly she was awakened to the scowling face of the owner of the Broomstick Express. Oh, poor girl. I like that. You can see how the faces like shift a little bit as if you just wait around. Well, only hers is shifting. The madam, not so much. But still, I do like the designs. She got her little messenger's bag. And our madam over here looking very snazzy with the little flowers on her head, kind of matching the flowers over here. Well, they're blue, I guess, and this is more purple than bioluminescent, but you know what I mean. It kind of matches, sorta. I like the little, I don't know what to call these right here. Little strings off the arm sleeve. Her teacher, her boss, and now her judge, Madame Odette. She stared at the little girl down, looking at the small puddle of drool on the countertop and shaking her head in annoyance. Ew, I don't want to think about a pool of drool. I fucking hate drooling. You ever just wake up from a good rest and you just kind of feel just slop, just drool that you just produced for some reason. Sometimes that happens to me when I sleep really well, and I haven't been able to figure out why. When I sleep normally, which is not too well, it doesn't happen, but when I sleep good, oh yeah, I'm drooling. Maybe I'm just like a cartoon character. Marjolaine dabbed at the small puddle with her elbow. Marjolaine, no, that's nasty, girl. Don't do that. Sorry, madame. How many customers have you scared away with your open mouth daydreaming, eh? As if we've had any. Marjolaine finally noticed that her teacher held a small bundle wrapped in yesterday's newspaper. Is that a delivery, madame? I thought you might be hungry, so I brought some croissants from the bakery down the lane. Ah, well, there she have it. See, she gets her croissants all the same. Maybe not without, maybe without the raspberry jam, but it's croissants nonetheless. The madame settled the bundle on the counter, which caused Marjolaine to perk up right. She sat upon the bundle, but before she could claim her prize, Odette snatched it away. Okay, so why are you gonna place it down in front of the poor girl who's clearly feeding for some croissant, and then just yoink it? However, breakfast is not for naughty little witchlings that loaf around and nap like old dogs when they should be studying. Marge let her shoulders slump and stared at the floor. Ah. It would be a long morning without any food. And for her teacher to dangle a treat in front of her face only to take it away moments later was especially cruel. That's what I'm saying. That's so mean. Why is the madame so mean? She doesn't deserve this. She's just a hungry gal. I can relate. I can relate because even when I eat breakfast, sometimes I wish for more. Except Marge here just has not eaten anything. And look at her. She's as skinny as a stick. You gotta give her all the croissants available. She wanted to be more upset, and she was, but this was something deserved. I am sorry, Madame Odette. I should have been more diligent with my duties. I will not let it happen again. And Marjolaine met her eyes for a moment, took her meaning, then looked back at the floor. And I will dust the whole shop. Good girl. Odette patted the girl's head, set the pastries on the counter, and moved to retreat to her garden on the floor above. Upstairs garden? How? I suppose it's like, I was gonna ask how exactly that would work, but now that I think about it, it's definitely possible to have an upstairs garden. I just didn't And not only that, but she's a witch, so, you know, magic is probably at use. And if it's not, then you still can use normal means of gardening to garden upstairs. Yes. We have jam in the pantry. Remember, the next Sabbath is only a few days away, so study. If you have to do it while you eat, make sure your fingers are clean. I do not want dirty little witchling fingers making the pages so sticky. No little witchling fingers. Roger that. Well, no making things sticky with the said witchling fingers. She does have little fingies. Look at them. Right there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Yes, madame. I have work to do in the garden. Please, but yell if you need anything. Should we get any orders, I would like to know. Yes, madame. Odette watched Marge set one of her books on the counter, and she lingered just a moment to watch her student gingerly turn a page much further along than she expected. With that, she let herself smile before disappearing upstairs. Ah, you can see the little smile just like shifting real quick. Marjolaine was nearing the end of a primer on herbs. It had been interesting enough for her to not fall asleep outright. She had learned that the benefits of the chamomile and lavender and sage, which hung from the rafters, extended beyond their wonderful smell. Well, you could eat it. Well, I know you could probably eat sage. I don't know about lavender or chamomile. I think you can eat sage. I don't remember if you can eat sage, actually. I feel like you can. That sounds like something you can consume without much trouble. They had a deep connection to the season. Spring, which the turning of the leaves just around the corners, they would need rosemary to replace them. Ah. Rosemary and... what was it? She was forgetting something, and it was the obvious kind of something. I hate that, honestly, when you have something right there that you know you ought to know, and you know that you know it, but you don't know it. The kind that makes one smack their own forehead once they realized. Ah, the jam! Of course, how silly. That is not, in fact, what you should be trying to remember. I am confident that she should not be thinking about the jam. Croissants were good on their own, but they needed jam to really send them to the scrumptious peak of which the witchling so longed. She skipped over the kitchen and tossed open the cupboard. Blackberry. Certainly not the finest of toppings, but it would do. No, I don't think I've had blackberry now that I think about it. Raspberry, maybe. Raspberry jam? Yeah, I could see myself having had that before. I remember one time I've had something that had pineapple jam on it, and I was never able to find that pineapple jam ever again. They do exist. You can buy them off of, like, Amazon and whatnot, but usually I don't do that. It feels like a waste of money to do so, you know, cause delivery fees and whatnot. But I can't find them in any store, which does disappoint me. So if I really want some pineapple jam one day, I guess I will just have to bite that bullet, so to speak. Marjolaine returned to the counter, a small jar in hand. However, her croissant had now cooled just beyond perfection. So she was left with a tepid breakfast. It didn't even crackle in just the right way, and subpar preserves. Look at her face, she is unpleased with her croissant. At least you had something to eat, girl, at least you had something to eat. Not ideal by any definition, but oh well. She turned back to her book, making sure to wipe any leftovers on a handkerchief she grabbed on her way back from the kitchen. The bell sounded. Damn. This guy's got a big friggamajiggy on his chest. I forget what they call those. to hold up your cloaks and whatnot. Oh, she was so involved in her study, she had not seen anyone outside the shop or on the street. It was an old man with brows so bushy they obscured his eyes and a cloak that highlighted his broad yet droopy shoulders. He's got that anime hair. Welcome to the Broomstick Express. May we deliver something for you? Yes, I've been here before. Sir? I would like something delivered. It's to a woman. I've got her picture if you need it. He produced a photograph as withered as his old hand of a young girl. She's holding a flower. It kinda has a stoic face. I can't tell if that's supposed to be like a blush underneath the eyes. I assume so. Maybe. She's a bit older now. I'm sure we can manage. May I keep this until the job is complete? I will take good care of it. Marjolaine halted a moment. She was to inform that of when someone needed a delivery, but maybe she was busy? Surely her teacher would not offer any distractions from her work, would not suffer any distractions from her work. Look at that sly little face. Surely she would be proud that Marjolaine could handle the shop when she was otherwise occupied, wouldn't she? Yes, this would make up for her earlier lack of diligence. She would be a dependable witch, one everyone could rely on. She's gonna get in trouble for this, isn't she? Marjolaine? That was Odette, who called down as she descended the stairway. There went that plan. Marjolaine, would you remember to clean the windows? You forgot last time. A customer. She greeted the old man without fully seeing him. However, when she moved around the counter and got a good look at him, her face changed from welcoming to something else. Not pleased, that much is for sure. Well, at least she can't get in trouble for doing something without her notice. Although I feel like she's gonna go ahead and do a thing without her notice. Oh, you. No, you cannot pay. But no. No buts. Out of my shop, good day, shoo, shoo. She nudged the old man out of the front door. I wonder why. What's with the old man? Why must his thing not be delivered? Marge could see his shoulders drop as he exited. Her heart sank a bit in response. Oh, why did you do that? He has been here many times before. He asks us to deliver something but cannot pay the full fee. Shouldn't we help people who need it? When I have given something for nothing once, it is kindness. When it is expected of me every time, it is enslavement. Finish your breakfast, it will get cold. Well, I mean, wise words, I suppose. But have we delivered anything for him for free? Ever? You said it yourself, once is kindness, more than once is slavery, so like, freebie, you know? You get a freebie. Old man should get a freebie. I assume he has come in here to ask for other deliveries before. Marjolaine had her mouth covered with a handkerchief, mounting a broom in order to dust up at the very, very top of a bookshelf. Why would Madame Odette just turn someone away like that, she wondered, especially when business was so scarce these days. It was those blasted aeroplanes, and the airships, aeroplanes and then the airships, the newest technological marvel that had taken everyone's fancy and refused to let go. There was no place for a witch career when you could have a dashing fellow in a flying machine deliver your precious things. How romantic was that? That sounds expensive, although, like, if you're... The only... like, that doesn't sound, like, good for the local mail systems. That, I mean, like, intercontinental and whatnot, like, across cities, sure. But within the town, I don't think that many people would need an airship or an aeroplane to deliver their message. But I suppose, you know. Actually, being a witch that has to go from town to town or like to a far off city, I suppose you wouldn't just fly straight over. You'd just maybe hop from witch courier to witch courier until the message gets delivered. I was thinking maybe like you would just be one witch and you would just fly all the way to, I don't know, like let's say LA to Houston or something, and that's a long way away. But I feel like more realistically, it'd be like you hop from, you know, you got one witch who goes through a couple of towns, drops off their thing at the delivery at some town, other courier service, and then that courier service carries it on and so forth. Kind of like Pony, was it? I can't remember if it was Pony Express or something like that. Some express service that sort of did that, but with horses, really. Admittedly, it was romantic, and indeed, the Witchling pondered becoming one of those that fly the ships. It had to be complicated. All things that to do with flying were complicated. Broomsticks? Not complicated. But she had been flying all her life. But what was this? Letters atop a bookshelf? That won't do. Marjolaine thumbed through them. Large, imposing fonts covered the envelopes. Words like past due and final notice. Ooh. The madame is not paying her dues. Such words and such letters were ice in her gut. They would surely lose the shop. What would Madame Odette do without it? She replaced the letters and blew some of the dust around to hide that she had been up there and descended, replacing the broomstick to its place on the wall. They needed money. To get money, they needed jobs. To get jobs, they needed people to visit the shop. There was the old man, of course. Madame Odette had been adamant to refuse him, though. For what, though? He could not pay enough? Surely if they were on their last legs, then the amount would do. Then the solution was simple. She would find the old man and take on that job. With any luck, other jobs would come by on the way. She had seen him exit and leave left, so perhaps if she was quick, she could catch up to him. But now arose the question of what to tell Madame Odette. How would Marjolaine excuse her sudden departure? She wouldn't. She would simply take her bag, her broom, and leave. No point risking bad karma over a good deed, after all. I suppose that's one way to do things. Better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, as they say. That is a little bit of a silly plan, though. Oh well. I hope, you know, I just hope she doesn't get into too much trouble. Let's hope. And after that is exactly what she did. She grabbed her hat, her broom, her delivery bag, took care not to trip the doorbell, and slipped out unnoticed. Madame Odette would be so proud of her for making them some money. Poor girl just wants to make sure the shop is still running. Ooh, I like this little snazzier, you know, snazzier little soundtrack. The Witchling mounted her broom with a bounce and took off, taking care to fly above head height so she could move quickly without running into anyone. She caught a few incredulous glances, the kind you get from seeing an elephant march down the street. It was to be expected. The odd witch was an unusual, maybe even unfashionable sight these days. She found the old man sitting outside a cafe. She's got her hat on. That's adorable. I like that hat. Look at that big old hat. He smiled softly upon seeing her land in front of him. Mister! Ah, it's been so long since I've seen the courier witch. Hello! I was about to enjoy a light lunch. Care to join me? First, I must apologize for my madam's behavior. It was uncouth and unbelievably rude of her to reject your job offer without hearing it out. Oh, well, you certainly know how to apologize, don't you? Come, join me for lunch. Hear the words of an old man, and I will call this a debt paid. The waiter brought her a small bowl of pear wedges and a plate of boiled eggs slices on rye. Pear and egg, huh? That really is like I'm not a big fan of pears. I'd rather have apples, but I did used to be one to munch on pears when I was a lot younger. The chives, she thought, had a nice flavor, though the pears were a bit underripe. She put them off for last. The old man himself only had a cup of coffee. This was my favorite cafe back in the day. I knew the owner when we were just schoolboys. I can pay for my portion. No need. I've earned a free meal or two here. Now, what was this about a job offer? Marjolaine cocked an eyebrow at him. Maybe, must be the forgetful sort of old person. Yeah. Oh man, that makes me think of myself, you know? It's like I'm not even old and I worry because I'm already so forgetful. I'm definitely gonna end up just doing a thing and then being like, oh yeah, forgot about that 100%. It did not happen. All I know is that I was walking to the cafe. But he got lunch for her, so he couldn't be all the bad. You came by the Broomstick Express asking to deliver something. Yes, I would very much like something delivered to a young girl. A woman now, I suppose. He spaced out, as if in deep memory. I was not always there for her when I should have been. He watched people flutter out and about the street. It makes me wonder if this old man... I guess he could be the father of the girl in the picture. Maybe. I'm not sure, though. Or maybe he's just referring to her as a girl because he remembers her most as a girl, and maybe back then he was just a boy. I don't know. When he finally spoke, it seemed as if it was to no one in particular. My whole life was spent putting on more than I was capable of. And even in those moments when I was drowning in my responsibilities, I never once thought myself incapable of making everyone happy. I only ever wanted to be a dependable person, you know. I never turned down the chance to help anyone either, even when it inconvenienced me. Even if it meant missing something far more important. And I guess somehow it became more important for me to be dependable than to take the care of the ones I loved. The old man once more took out the old picture of the young girl, and looked upon it, again falling back into memorial trance. I ended up neglecting her when I needn't have done so. He took a deep breath and set the picture down, finishing around in his coat for something else. And now, well, this is all I have left. He produced a ring box wrapped in a little green bow. This is what you want delivered, sir? Indeed, it is the only thing I can give her, and it is far less than she deserves for all the neglect. This is my heart. See to it she receives it safely. Marjolaine stared at the box. Your heart, sir? But the old man had gone, leaving behind only the box, the picture, and the cup of coffee. Man, he just pulled a Batman on us, huh? Just straight up just pulled a Batman. Maybe he himself is a wizard. Who knows? He does have the big cloak for it. Although I kinda doubt it. I sorta doubt he's a wizard. And he'll want the picture back, assuming he remembers it. How could he have wandered off without something so important? The elderly are so helpless. Sometimes they sure are. But hey, it is the way it is. But where to find the girl? Surely if she were a woman now, this picture would not be much help. That, and he didn't really provide much of any information on the girl. At all. Like, zero. Zilch, other than he neglected her, and that's really it. We don't even know if she lives in this town. She could have moved on to some different town. Maybe it was Madame. I don't know. Nevertheless, she placed the box in her bag. The picture, well, she could go to the police and ask about her. But what was this on the back? Writing. It was a street name followed by an apartment number. A perfect place to start. Once the waiter came around again, she asked him if he knew the location of the street, thanked him, and took off. Well, we have a job to do, I suppose. Walking was such slow meandering. You could only get to a place after a great deal of effort, and you may even tire out before you get there at all. And so much was obscured on the ground. So many buildings, and all of them so tall. It's a wonder she could navigate at all. Flight was different. You could go anywhere you wanted, and all you had to do was turn your head. It was the wind whistling past your ears, a soothing chill on a hot day, a bath after working in the garden for a few hours. The crowds, the noises, the quibbling, the stretches of the city fell away beneath your feet, and troubles became nothing before the embrace of the sky. Sounds lovely and also terrifying because I'm afraid of heights. You put me up too high, I'm gonna start panicking a little bit. Well, not anymore. The crowds of people became the crowds of aeroplanes rudely rushing past, of airships milling about like great crows. The noises became engines, propellers chopping her precious wind and forming them into turbulent airstreams, making navigation so much more difficult than simply dodging the odd, belligerent pilot. And what once was clear, brisk sky now held the faint but unmistakable scent of diesel in it. Still, she thought, look at these planes and failed to be awed. That a huge metal thing could fly, and be so much heavier than a bird, and so varied were their shapes. The bird was generally the same across all species, had a head, a body, two tails, and two wings and a tail. The plane could have two bodies, two tails, four wings. It was an exercise of the imagination. Yeah, I forget that I guess this is based off of the earlier times when designers were still trying to, figure out and experimenting around with all kinds of plane designs. Early plane designs were pretty darn interesting when you look into them. I've only watched a video here and there on, airplanes. I'm not really that big on airplanes. I've seen a couple of videos on military planes specifically, and not really much as civilian planes. There was that one plane that was super fast, but never got put into full production. And I think then in order to test out how fast it was, they flew it from some place to the UK, and it was it got there, obviously quicker than even today's airliners, but it was expensive to make, it cost a lot to upkeep, and it was just never popped off because of the cost. Simply too expensive. Let me drink some coffee here. Some had a grace about them, others were ugly. Some were wood and canvas, and many more were now metal of colors and shape equal to their pilots' personalities. True. Perhaps that was why witches had faded from this world. Marjolaine knew more than anyone that magic was difficult. It took years of training to receive an apprentice result, an appreciable result, and even those results were subtle, such as they may not have existed at all. With these airplanes, the results were immediate. She remembered the difficulty of her early days of flight, how difficult it had been to even get the broom to hover. That had taken months, but it felt like years. And now it was no trouble, a thoughtless action akin to breathing. But not everyone held the patience nor the magical aptitude. A man with neither of these things could simply purchase an aeroplane, granting him the ability to soar about like the birds. Well, you still have to learn to fly the damn thing, to be fair. And yeah, I suppose a man cannot be a witch. Therefore, airplane. He could travel the country, as did witches of old. He only needed a craft and knowledge of how to fly. It was like cheating, but then she wondered, if she had known how to fly one of these crafts, would she have ever been a witch? Was it cheating to use the knowledge of those before you? Was it not easier to be among those that dared fly a thing so much heavier than air? They always seemed so blase about the whole thing, as if flying those metal beasts was a feat equitable to walking. Could the craft not fall apart around them? Could there be some sort of mechanical failure? Might the wings simply fall off due to improper maintenance? The broomstick offered no concerns as that. It was simply a handle and some straw at the end. Aeroplanes were immensely complicated things. A problem could compound itself, leading to the death of the pilot as a result of a minuscule issue. So why did she feel such an attraction to them? Was it simply the danger of a catastrophe? Or was it the perseverance in spite of the danger? Perhaps that was it, she thought. It was a triumph over limitation. Look at them now, lumbering airships, peppy little single-person pusher props, great cargo crafts. These people now ruled the skies as witches once did. And here she was on her broomstick cheering them on. How silly she was. An odd feeling took her, as if she were a sailboat among warships. All of a sudden, she was acutely aware of herself, and how ridiculous she looked sailing among these marvels, so she dipped low, just above the buildings. Yeah, she does seem rather, not bothered by, I guess, the how do you say, the competition, I suppose, making witches kind of less and less of a thing. I mean, she is young, she isn't, even though this is something she's basically done, I assume, for a good portion of her life thus far. It's not like it's the end of her life if, tomorrow she no longer, could do these things. Plus, she can still fly around if she really wanted to. Nothing's really stopping her, as far as we know. Kind of feels like some things today, where there's a lot of things going down and, well, I don't know, maybe it's not comparable. But oh well. Best not to chance a collision with one of those aircrafts, she told herself. The street held no apartments by the name on the photograph, and its supposed place was instead a factory. She dismounted and asked a group of workers standing in front. The way it's just a sketch of a dude. Excuse me, I am a courier attempting to deliver a package to an apartment that used to be here. They burned down years ago. I think that place relocated 2 streets over. You'll see it. It got green doors. Thank you, sir. And she was off again, soon finding the apartments with the green doors. That was just, it's like, well, we're only gonna have this guy like pop in once, so let's just do a little quick sketch of him, huh? Which begged the question, did the woman even live here anymore? Perhaps it would be best to simply knock on doors and ask around. Well, that's one way to do things. We'll see if that works. I assume other people maybe would have seen her. Most likely. Although, I just hope she's nearby. She approached the door closest to her and knocked. A rather fancy-looking middle-aged woman answered. Oh, she's fancy indeed. Look at her pearls. Finally! I've been waiting a whole hour for the delivery! The woman extended her hand expectantly. Well, let's have it. Julian needs his medicine before 3 o'clock or he'll get gassy. Julian. I don't know why I read that as Julene. Julian needs his medicine before 3 of the clock or he'll get gassy. Medicine, madame? Stupid girl. From the alchemist. You're the carrier, right? Where is Julian's medicine? I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. Well, if you're not from the alchemist, what use are you? Wait, ma'am. I would be happy to go retrieve your medicine promptly, but I will need payment. But of course, I'm no savage. Payment will be issued on delivery. Here is the address. Now go and get it. I waited 1 hour, I shall not wait another. I imagine Julian may be a pet. Marjolaine arrived at the address. It was no larger than Odette's shop, and in spite of the unfamiliar surroundings, she felt a kinship with the employees working there. She found the alchemist fussing over his display at the front of the building. He spoke without turning. Little miss, I'm afraid I cannot take walk-ins today. Pardon me, I'm from the Broomstick Express on a job for... I didn't get her name. I'm here to retrieve medicine for one Julian. Insufferable woman, she sent the last carrier away. Imagine being Yuki. Imagine indeed. Very confused elf. Welcome, Yuki. I see that you are very confused and have changed thy name to not Yuki elf, but very confused elf. Why are you very confused, elf? How have you been? How you been? I hope you're having a lovely day. I'm playing this little, probably short game, really a visual novel more than anything, about a little witch who is on a little quest to deliver a message, or, well, not a message. She needs to deliver something for an old man. Because you're always confused? I suppose that's true enough. It fits you? But to have it be your name, you know, like, you could have made it your title. Well, I guess it is a title. Very confused elf. Does sound like a title. Kind of makes you seem like a little NPC. Just like somebody walks up to you and like instead of a name, they just get very confused elf. But how you been? How you doing? We're French, I think. Which is, you know, you are an NPC? No, you're not. You're a lovely, lovely elf. That's what you are. Yeah. Well, our name is Marjolaine, and we need to deliver something to Julian, who's a guy, and I don't know, we ate a croissant in the morning. Yeah. Listen, at least the art for the characters is cute, except when we're talking to somebody that's gonna be like talked to only once, like this man and another man, or maybe I don't know why this is so, like, I don't know why they decided to just make one-shot characters that we're only gonna come across to, like, one time, like these little sketches. That was like the first time that happened, it caught me off guard. What's next? You're gonna eat a frog? I don't know. She did have a light lunch of pears with boiled eggs, and I think that's a very French thing. He turned, finally removing his glasses to clean them. A witch courier, eh? Not quite. I have a proposition for you. My deliveries are late getting here, and I've just sent another service to go and fetch them. But you witches are fast on your broomsticks, no? If you go and retrieve my medicines before he does, I'll pay you what I promised him. But only if you complete the delivery before the courier arrives. If he gets back first, you get nothing. Understand? He doesn't even have glasses. Listen, this is just a representation, alright? It's just a representation of the character. I will take the job. Acceptable. Here's the address and the request and the credentials you'll need. Hurry on then. We've only seen one man so far be actually drawn, and it was the old man that we needed to deliver something for. The alchemist turned to return inside, but Marjolaine was already halfway down the block. She knew exactly where the shop was. It was across town, and she was not nearly as fast as a plane, but surely she could get there faster than the time it took them to land and take a car. Why would you need a plane to cross a city? She could make it, but she took off immediately to be certain. And there she goes. They should have drawn a man with yellow hair and yellow and eyes and metal arm and leg. Why? Why? And why is that, Yuki? Why? Because he's an alchemist? And short. I see. Because Edward. Indeed. Edward Ulrich. Full Metal Alchemist. They should have. It would have been kind of funny if they did just draw like a blonde with like a doesn't he usually wear like a black shirt? Just like a blonde guy with a black shirt and like blue eyes or whatever. Full Metal. Yeah, Full Metal. Me when I'm fooling my metal. It was a large building visible from the air, and soon as she saw it, she banked, shot toward the ground, landed into a run, and entered through the open front door. The concierge raised his eyebrows, staring at the panting girl who had just run into his shop. Yes? From the Broomstick Express. About a delivery for this person. She slapped the credentials on the counter. Red jacket. He doesn't have a red jacket, does he? I thought it was a blue one. Well, I mean, this guy has like, I don't even know what he has. This man looks like he's wearing like pants up to his neck. Ah, a witch carrier? Unusual. Is Gene sick today? I thought he was running late. Sir, I am on a deadline. Pardon me, catch your breath while I go on and get those for you. Ed had a red jacket? Let me look this up. I think you're gaslighting me. Hold on. Oh my god, he does have a red jacket. What? Impossible. But then why am I remembering blue? Oh, because everybody else in the military wears a blue one. That's why I remembered blue. Because everybody else wore a blue jacket. And so, yeah, you're right. Edward himself wears a red one. Tut. He wandered into the back, allowing Marjolaine a moment reprieve. And before she could get too comfortable, he was back. Penicillin, as the doctors requested. Here is the bill as well. I'll see that he gets it. Marjolaine placed the medicines in her bag. Thank you. And off she goes, flying away. I like how the sprite of the character kind of lifts away to show that she's flying. And then when she comes back down, and she was gone again into the sky. She does the same thing when she comes back down. Her character sprite just kind of floats back down. What next? You gonna remember Ed with only one hair like Armstrong? No. Maybe not. He had a ponytail, I remember that much, I think. She sailed alongside a pair of planes whose pilots waved to her before speeding off. They weren't all bad, these aeroplanes. He had braids. He did not have braids. Maybe he had his hair braided, but, you know, close enough. Braids imply more than one. Marjolaine landed affront the pharmacy and charged inside, placing her bag on the counter. "Delivery, penicillin for you." The alchemist looked at his watch, checked the chemicals, looked at the little witch, and back to his watch. "Goodness, that couldn't have been more than 10 minutes. Let me get you that payment." "The Broomstick Express," he said? "Yes, I'll keep that in mind. Don't forget Julian's medicine." He has a braid. There we go. 'Cause you don't know English. It's okay, Yuki. It's okay. My apologies. A very confused elf. We all get forgetful. I mean, I'm reading half the words, like, incorrectly here. She thanked the man and set off for the apartments. Whoosh. It was turning out to be a good day. She just got paid quite well, in fact, she was about to complete another job. Perhaps the woman would be grateful enough to help her locate the girl in the picture. And if she couldn't, well, at least it was another payment. She was well on her way to saving at that shop. She would be so proud of Marjolaine for doing all this. "Delivery! Medicines for Julian!" she shouted, knocking on the door to the woman's apartment. The woman answered, and a large dog forced its way just outside between the two. "Well, it's about time." She reached down and played with the dog's floppy ears, babbling. "See, Julian? The carrier girl has your medicine so we can get you all better. Yes, we will." Dog, look at him. Hound, big hound. "Yes, we will." Woof. Woof. Not a large dog. It is a large dog. We love large, shaggy dog. Look at him. Happy guy. Happy guy who needs his penicillin, unfortunately. I didn't know dogs, could be in need of penicillin. We just remember Full Metal Alchemist, though. Listen, there's no little girls here, so we're good. We're fine, okay? There's no little girls nearby. The only little girl, I guess, although she's not that little, is the witch. Marjolaine. So we're good. We're good. It's fine. No need to panic. The dog yipped and wagged its tail, and for the briefest of seconds, the old woman's eyes held a sparkle at Julian's excitement. That's the point? There's no little girls anymore? As if this was the first time in a while it spoke in such a way. The pair looked so much younger. Then those briefest of seconds ended and her smile faded. She turned to Marge with a scowl. "Your payment?" She offered a stingy few bills. If I could trouble you with questions." "No, you may not. You have your payment, now leave us." The woman herded the now less than enthused creature inside and slammed the door in Marge's face. The witchling, in turn, screamed through her own teeth and clenched her fist, stamping her foot in sheer frustration. You can see a little pout on her face. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. How rude, she thought. Perhaps a hex to sully her day? She thought better of it. Madame Odette always said, "What is visited on another shall be visited on yourself thrice." That is the law of return. Uh-oh, we're getting laws. We're getting certain laws, be it good or bad. She needed good, and certainly she needed 3 times the good if she wanted to save the shop. First we talk about alchemist, then we get alchemist, then a big dog, then normal girls, and then talks of laws. I'm starting to get worried here. Her name is Tucker? Shoe Tucker. Well, who the hell is Show? Show Tucker? But a woman like that would almost take anyone to... Well, they'll almost make anyone do it anyway. Perhaps something small. Like a mirror to break at the sight of her visage. No, she was not worth the trouble. Almost, though. Marjolaine chose the adjacent apartment and knocked. Show Tucker, that's what his name... That's what was his name. Ah. That's the guy. Right. Show Tucker. That's a strange mixture. I feel like Show... Like, Tucker, like, okay, it kind of makes sense since, like, you know, their names in general are, like, Western, right? But, like, Show... So the Show part, it doesn't feel very, very Western. No answer. Tried again, but they must have been out. She moved down the line. The next door was the same, out or not answering. And it was like this 2 more times. Marjolaine finally got an answer all the way at the end of the block. Another old man. Hello? Can I help you with something? Oh, a witch courier. It's been a long time since I've seen one of those. Are there many of you left? Do you have a delivery for me? Sorry, I do not. Ah, well, what can I help you with, little witch? I'm looking for the girl in this photograph. It's old though, so she'll be fully grown. Does Paninia sound Western to you? A little. Paninia? Yeah, that could be a little that sounds kind of Western. Not the most common name, but like Western-ish. Sounds like something kind of Spanish, honestly. Just the slightest bit. Are your words not showing up on screen, by the way? Hold on. I just realized this. Unless it did, and then I'm just tripping. Type something random. I need to check. I don't know if things have been showing up on the screen or not. Because if not... Tut, I guess. I might have to recheck with, fucking whatever the thing is that I use. Chat should be showing up. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Damnable thing. Sometimes it gets silly. Here, let me do something a little random. Get onto the oven. There we go. Get into the oven. Why? Why do you want me to get into the oven? What have I done? I don't deserve oven time. Okay, the stuff is showing up on the screen. There we go. Why the threat? Warm? It's cozy there? Warm and nice? Why go into oven when I could just hug you instead? I could just come over there. Cuddle you. That's equally warm. Oven will be too warm. I should know. I baked bread today. In the morning. It was very hot. She handed him the photo. He squinted at it, held it further from his face, close enough to that... held it further from his face, close enough that his nose touched, then back again, grunting all the while in concentration. But then you can't eat me? Why would you want to eat me? I'm not supposed to be, like, edible. I'm just a guy. I'm just a little dude. You can't eat me. That's illegal. Eating me is illegal. You know what? No more cuddle. No cuddle time. That's what you get for trying to eat me. For trying to consume me. Yes. Yes, I saw a girl like this just yesterday. Or last week. 3 days ago? Oh, come to think of it, I haven't seen my dog in about 3 days either. This man. I haven't seen my wife either. Huh. I apologize, but I must find her soon. Technically, it's legal, but cuddles? Exactly. No cuddles if you're trying to eat me. No eating a Jolly Boy. Jolly Boy is not for consumption. Oh, right. Children are always in a hurry. Which is good, save the waiting for when you get old like me. Now, where was this girl? It was a coffee joint, I believe. Yes, it was definitely a cafe. We was the talk of the town, that one. But that was a long time ago. I remember when my wife and I used to go there. Went in and got little tarts with our espresso. You have to get something sweet to balance out that bitterness. But what do you children know of bitterness? Hopefully nothing. And I hope you never shall. Sir, the girl? This man's just yapping. He's just going on and on. Like real old people. The girl? Ah yes, the girl. She was a waitress there. And made a decent coffee. Not good. Not bad either. Cheap though. Which is good. You get what you pay for, right? You buy sheep, you're gonna get sheep. And you should always get cheap things. Be sure to splurge on occasion. That's the key to saving your money. Please, where was this cafe, kind sir? Ah, the cafe. It was down. Oh, what street was that? My wife and I used to go there all the time before she... Somewhere on the other end of town. I was with my son that day, you know. His response degraded into mumbles and hand movements that apparently meant nothing. Marge briefly wondered if there was some kind of tea she could brew to make their conversation go faster, or at least help his memory along to her entire point in being here. Ah, man. You know, I know that this is meant to be like funny, haha. We also had, you know, the old man that we have to deliver something for also was a little bit of a forgetful guy, but it makes me worry for when I become an elderly godling myself. And I already forget things so much. 1 minute? Sure thing. Take your time. Unfortunately, he was her best lead for now, for however long that would be, which was beginning to shape up to be forever. Right, so you're gonna take the 3 o'clock tram to Deliveries, I don't know how to read that, and then there's another tram at the 4:15, around now I'd say about, because it's about the most unreliable tram I have ever had the misfortune of riding. But sir, I have a broom. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you wishes ride brooms everywhere. That's right. Well, it's by Palace de Moline, across the street from a statue. Don't remember who it's a statue of though. Thank you, sir. I must go. You take care, little witch. And if you see my wife anywhere, tell her I'll be by shortly. She probably has the dog with her. She was off before he could continue the conversation. Old people, she thought, cute sometimes, but they are in no hurry, are they? Well, I would be. If they hurried, they'd die. There were at least 5 streets named Rue de Iglesias, but only 3 of them had a statue. One of them was close by. And given the old man had said it was on the other end of town, that left only 2 streets she needed to check. On a hunch, she went to the closer of the 2. It was high noon. The air traffic had lulled a bit, and she took the opportunity to enjoy herself and take in the view. The city from the air was her most treasured sight. She could, if she looked hard enough, see the crowd scurrying along the winding streets like ants in a line. She could follow the endless housing and twisting lanes to where they broke against the waters of the Mediterranean. Yeah, seems like a southern France. I guess we're on southern France. We're a witch of southern France. She could, if she wished, fly to the beaches, and walk barefoot along the warm sands, a small break from the day. I'd perhaps grab a sweet or two, sit on a jetty, and space out, looking over the infinite horizon. Marsh sighed. If only there were more time to enjoy these things. If only business were better. But if business were better, then would she not just be busy? Either the shop is at risk of closing and she must struggle to scrounge together the funds, or the shop does well and she has to work all the time. Well, in theory, there would be more employees, unless there's not a lot of people who can fly brooms these days. The latter had to be the better scenario. Better to be busy but well off than struggling to survive. Yes, she had been paid well today and possibly earned the doctor's business. Doctors made good money, and perhaps she had already saved the shop. He would tell all his doctor friends, and they would have more money than they needed. Perhaps Madame Odette could take on more apprentices. But she wondered what would happen to me. She halted midair if the shop were to do well, and if Madame Odette were to hire more witches, it would no longer be just the two of them. Would she play favorites? Certainly she would have less time for Marjolaine in any event. That fact made her stomach hop around a bit. She knew it would have to happen sometime. There would come a day when she parted ways with her mentor. She would find her own way. She hoped it was a long way off, but that day would have to come. But never mind that. There was the street. Sorry, not the secret. There was in the street, in a cafe, as well. And frankly, there was a cafe every other street, as this could very well be the wrong one. Still, she landed. Better to check and be wrong than to not check at all. Coffee hit her nose. These old cafes were soaked in it. Not surprising the smell would waft to the outdoor settings. It was a nice smell, but the taste itself was lacking. Madame Odette preferred tea, as did Marjolaine, but she also preferred the smell of coffee to that of tea. Surprising, I'm kinda the opposite. I like the taste of tea, but I like the smell. I like the taste of coffee, but I like the smell of tea better. It's more floral, I suppose. There's more variety to it than there is with coffee. Although I'm sure there's some coffees that do have different smells to them. I heard there was one that was kind of vanilla-esque. I think it was from Hawaii. It was just a unique smell. There was something about it. She did not know that. She did not know what. Waiters swiped tables indoors and out, in absence of any other work. There was only one customer in the shop sitting at a table by the window, reading a newspaper. That reminds me, we do have one cafe, I suppose. In the town I live, I guess, there is a cafe. There might be more, if I look closely enough, but there's one that I know of. I've never been to it. It's more like a breakfast place, I suppose, but, I should visit one time, just to order a sandwich or something. Yeah, I think I never did because they seemed a little bit on the expensive side. Not really a cheap place to go to these days. Kinda unfortunate, but that is how small businesses sometimes operate. There was only one customer in the shop sitting at a table by the window reading a newspaper. She thought better of asking him about the girl. Instead, she found the most important looking fellow there. The one wearing a vest. Something you need? Yes, I'm looking for the girl in this picture. I was told she might be working here. And why would you need to know? I have a delivery for her. A package from an older gentleman. A courier? Which courier? How old-fashioned. Perhaps I know something of this girl. She does indeed work here. Ah, good. Is she here today? Marsh beamed. The delivery was coming to an end. No. Well, would you please give me her address so I can deliver the item to her? No. You may leave it here and I will see that she gets it when she is in. Sir, my apologies. I was asked to deliver this especially. I must see personally that the woman gets this item. It is special. I'm sure it is. However, I will not give you her address. Perhaps this was one of those situations in which a bribe would help. But all the money she had accrued had to go toward the shop. Today of all days was not the day to waste funds on bureaucracy. Again, my apologies, but I do not have much to offer. We might come to an arrangement. He pointed to one of his employees. That simpleton broke 2 of my portafilters, and I will be firing him at the end of his shift. Until then, our machine is down. I have the parts on order, and the delivery is supposed to be on its way, but it's been hours and I'm feeling a little impatient today. Go to the shop, get the part for me, and return. I shall give you her address if and only if you get the part for me before the other delivery man arrives. Understood. She got the parts shop address and raced out of the cafe. She beat one courier today, and she would beat another. It would be easy. Why does everybody have to make everything so hard? Like the alchemist guy, fair enough, right? Alchemist doctor man, fair enough, he needs stuff and he'll give her the thing in return of that, because it kind of needs to get done. But like, this random manager guy could just be like a decent guy and just tell her where to go, but no. I suppose maybe it was asked of him not to tell anybody about her address by the woman herself, so maybe he's just respecting that wish, in which case, I suppose I can't blame the guy. That's only if it was requested of him. The parts shop was not even that far away, and she was in the door in 2 minutes flat, asking the front desk clerk for the filters. Oh, was there a mistake with the delivery? We already gave those to the other courier. Which one? Marge's heart sank as she asked. She knew she was too late. Church Street Deliveries. It's one of those covered motor cars that has the logo on the side. Can't miss it. Shall I call the customer? Have we made a mistake? No, there's no mistake. Thank you for your time. I see. I forgot. Motor services are a thing too. Huh. Funny enough, this is gonna be a bit of a tangent, and a little, I guess, personal, but I did one time, a few years ago, think about the idea of, if I could, and this was back when I had lots of hopes and dreams a few years ago about, actually making money and having work and whatnot. I thought about grouping up enough money to make my own little small business, and one of the businesses I thought about for whatever reason was a courier service. I don't know why, it just seemed like something that was worth looking into. Maybe small scale stuff, nothing crazy. Similar to that of basically it was like a motorcycle courier service type of thing. Don't know how that would work. And I think it wouldn't work considering, maybe if it's an Uber-esque type of thing where you kind of download an app, make your call and just insert what you're delivering, and then whoever is capable of delivering that comes around, picks up the package, goes on the delivery, delivers the thing directly on the same day. Maybe like that, it could work, although I don't think that is something that will be often needed, if I'm being honest. It was an idea, though, and I think maybe one that, in some places of the world, could be kind of good. No, this was her best lead. She launched down the street, dodging a couple of cars before realizing she should pull up for the better view. Not there. Not here. Not the next street. Blast. Where was the car? There. 2 streets from the cafe. A van with a canvas-covered truck bed. Marge caught up the van, pulled up the back, seized one of the flaps and let it go, and broke off. This was wrong. What was her plan? Steal the filters? Was she a thief now? Goodness. Was it worth the karma? Marge returned to the cafe, just behind the van. She had been beaten. Let the price of arrogance be defeat. She waited until the delivery man left the cafe before approaching. Perhaps the manager would take pity on her. Ah, the witch is back. The courier has already delivered my filters. I don't require your services, so you may leave. But sir, I must ask you, we had a deal. You were slow, and you get nothing. Good day. Why are you so cruel? I will call the constables if you do not leave my shop, girl. Her throat got warm, and she bit back tears. How could this wretched man be so callous? You horrible slug! She screamed. The customers with newspapers looked at her with interest. How could you be so heartless that you would refuse to answer a simple question? I cannot complete this delivery without your help, and you use me for a game of yours? Calmly, he called to a woman inside, seated behind the counter. Margaret, or whatever her name is, get this. May all your coffee be weak, Marjolaine cursed. A proper, crude curse from the bottom of her heart. She meant it, and would be thrice punished. Do not bother calling the constables. I'm leaving now, and I'll never return to this shack. At the fence line, she turned and spat on the walkway outside the cafe. Once she turned once more, adding, "And may your pastries look pedestrian." Damn, she's mad, fuming mad. I don't blame her though. It is rather, like, odd that the man is simply refusing to tell her the address of, because at the end of the day, it's like that. Imagine a male person just being like, "Yo, I need to know where this person is," and it's like, yeah, I know who that person is. I know where they live. I'm not telling you though." It's like, what the fuck? Marsh stormed across the street and into an alcove, hidden from sight, choking back tears and shivering in spite of the late afternoon heat. What an absolute waste of time. She gained nothing from that exchange. She remembered the curse she uttered and the dread of what she'd done took hold. How would she be punished for this one? Had she doomed Odette's shop? That must be it. She cursed the shop, and in turn, her shop would be cursed. Odette would lose her home, and it would all be Marcia's fault. She collapsed onto a stoop, holding her head in her hands. People walked in front of her, never once turning an eye to her while she wept. Odette would lose the shop, and it was all her fault. Odette would lose the shop. It was her fault. It was all her fault. She shouldn't have done that. She should never have cursed the cafe. She wished she could take it back. Miss? What's this guy just got a flower on on his head? A hand touched her shoulder. She slapped it away. Miss? The voice said again, "I am sorry, but please get a hold of yourself." Marsh took a deep breath. She took a deep, shaky breath and looked up. It was the employee from earlier, the one the awful man called a simpleton. "Your boss is horrible." "Yes, he just fired me. May he rot in some foreign prison." Yeah, it seems like the feelings mutual. Maybe everybody has the same feelings on that man. For all the good my curses do, anyway. He smirked. "You are one of those witches that delivers things, yes?" I am." "So you witches really do curse people?" "I didn't mean it. I mean, I did, but I regret it." "I would not. He will be the only one weeping when his business goes under. It was once the greatest cafe in the city. Now it is a coffee shop with weak coffee. Excellent decision. Poetic justice. Justice though it may be, I should not have cursed him. It will come back to me and inflict 3 times the pain." The employee lit a cigarette and took a deep breath before speaking. If it makes you feel any better, that man does not feel. And if I know any math, it's that 3 times nothing is still nothing. You will come out of this unscathed, little witch. And you have earned my appreciation for all it's worth. The two remained silent. The man finished his cigarette and flicked the remains onto the street. Why did he need his help anyway? I need a delivery for this girl, and I have a delivery for the girl in this picture, and he says she works for him. He promised to give me her address in exchange for getting his machine parts. I see. So if I were to write Caroline's address here on the back of this photograph, it would make this all better? Caroline is her name? Yes, she's walking distance from here, actually. But I will request one thing in exchange for the address. Yes? Marjolaine was apprehensive, not wanting further distraction from her main goal. I have never seen a witch fly on a broom. Her smile... She smiled, rubbed her face with her arm, and mounted the broom. She shot straight up. Up into the sky, did a wide loop for him, being careful to look for any planes, and flew back down, hopping off the broomstick and into a little curtsy. He clapped and handed her the photo. Thank you, sir. She shook his hand, almost shook his arm out of his shoulder, and took off down the street. That wasn't pleasant. She skipped over to the townhome. Number 6, number 7, number 8. Charming little buildings built up rather than out. She could see herself living in one of these one day, with a planter hanging from each window. Maybe from the fencing as well. Marjolaine adjusted her hat. She smoothed her overcoat and made sure the buckles on her bag were loose, for a little flair when producing the delivery item. She just wants to make it seem a little bit, a little bit fancy, I guess. She brushed aside the hair setting beneath her hat, so no strands obscured her eyes. She would be the picturesque witch courier. And this picturesque witch courier, feeling her appearance sufficient, used the knocker 3 times. A young woman answered. Yes, this was her, the girl in the photograph. The quest was over. A delivery for you, miss, said Marge, beaming. Smoothly, she reached into her bag and drew the little ring box. It was difficult to find you, I must say. Is that from the old man? Yes? I don't want it. Pardon? I don't want anything he has to offer me. I don't want whatever is in the little box. But miss, I've been searching all day. Throw it in the garbage. Give it to a dog. Toss it down the sewer for all I care. It is an empty thing that means nothing. He can offer me nothing. He gave me nothing growing up, and he'll give me nothing now that I am grown. I will not accept whatever blasted thing he has tricked you into delivering. Miss, I must insist you take this. No. He told me it was his heart. He has no heart. He thinks some useless trinket will give me back my childhood? Does he think a piece of jewelry or whatever can undo years spent ignoring his daughter? Tears came to the young woman's eyes. Throw it down the nearest sewer, where it will rot with the rest of him. She slammed the door, leaving Marjolaine alone on the stoop. The sun traversed a fraction of the evening sky before Marge could act. When she did, she simply stuffed the ring box into her bag. Not pocket. She staggered down the steps. She straddled her broom. She took off for the sea. Yeah. Faster, faster, faster she went. Fast enough for the wind to rip the tears from her eyes, to punch the sobbing from her lungs. She held a white-knuckle grip on her broomstick the whole way over to the houses, the beaches, and over the ocean. Oh, come on, girl, it's not your fault, this is just how it is. Can't say it's uncalled for either, because it isn't. Quite unfortunate that this had ever happened to the poor woman. A terminal waste of a day. How could anyone be so indifferent to her struggles? Had she not worked so hard to make all of them happy? And what had the struggle yielded? Doors had been slammed in her face, a woman cried angrily at her, a man used her rather than answer a simple question. Another woman had been so unfeeling she may as well have slapped her. And she nearly stole and cursed a man and wasted her entire day trying to fulfill a poor man's request. And a complete waste this was too. Is this gonna be like some lesson about how, like, maybe, don't try to do everything? Similar to how that old man said that, like, hey, when he was younger, he tried to make everyone happy. And guess what? She's doing the same thing here, technically. Trying to make sure everybody's happy, I guess, with getting things delivered and delivering, at the end of the day, that ring box to the girl who now is a woman and doesn't want it, understandably. She could have taken on additional deliveries. Instead, she had allowed herself to become infatuated with the romance of helping an old man reconcile with his daughter. Look at what a waste that was, Marjolaine. Look at what you get for blindly helping others, used and cast aside without gratitude. Such will ever be your path, to be a tool discarded, equal in usefulness to a days-old newspaper. It was that moment she flew through a flock of some passing seagulls. She slammed into 2 or 3, who squawked and scratched at her in anger, and when she split from the formation, she took out the ring box. This was her fault. This was his fault. He had suckered her into taking this stupid job. What kind of man would ignore his family? How could anyone work so hard they could forget about their daughter? What a disgusting old man. Who did he work so hard for? Himself? She squeezed the ring box in her hand. How dare he? She just wanted to help. And as consequence, she stole. She cursed. She was on the path to becoming a black witch because of him. How dare he? Marjolaine hurled the ring box so hard she nearly lost her grip on her broom. She watched it rotate as it fell down, 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 down until it made a small splash and disappeared beneath the waves. You idiot, Marge. You're the only one to blame here. You accepted the request. You helped the mean old man. You allowed yourself to be tricked by the cafe owner. You thought to steal to fulfill his request. And Caroline? How was her anger your fault? Finally, she unclenched her jaw and she saw the ring box melt into the sea. She jumped off her broom and plummeted after it. Odette's words came to her mind. If you are angry, it is because you have allowed it. She was beneath the waves, where the waters began to darken, plenty of breath. She looked around and up and down and to each side. If you were tricked, it is because you were not wise. You were not yet wise. The box would be black against the dark, deep blue waves. She thought briefly to give up. It would be easy. Weakness is ignorance of strength. Panic is ignorance of calm. Bliss is acceptance that all that cannot be changed by your hand cannot be changed. Calm is the gift of bliss. Strength is the gift of calm. Her heart throbbed in her chest, in her ears. She ignored the pounding, the wiggling sounds of the water, the burning in her throat, the emptiness in her lungs. She concentrated. She strained her eyes for that little black cube against the deep dark blue. If you are blissful, Marjolaine, you possess strength. Others might panic. It is, of course, a natural reaction. You are expected to panic, but magic can do the unexpected. She strained her eyes. She calmed herself. Her lungs threatened to allow in the water. She needed air, but more so, she needed time. Concentrate. One hears the goodness everywhere, so one eventually tunes out her voice if one is not careful. She always speaks. You need only listen to her words to channel her power. Something emanated from her and the water became bright, so bright she squinted even more in response. There was the box! She swam toward it, lungs blazing like blazing coals in her chest. Again, the pain was she swam against the pain she swam, against the currents and the lack of air, against all the reasons she swam for the little black box. Got it. Nowhere left. How deep was she? Who cares? Up, 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 up. Light danced against her face. The pressure had become light. It was there. The surface was right there. Her arms could move no more. So she pushed with her legs, and then she surfaced, however briefly. She gasped. Her lungs shrieked against the influx, and she dipped back below a wave, and back over in time for another gasp, only this time it was full of seawater, which had choked her. Back underwater, she needed to get over the waves, but they were too tall. She needed her broom. She needed her hand above water, but the water rose to drown her each time. She got one half of one part of a much-needed breath before the water moved to cover her. Again, up again, and again, and again. And she had it in her hand. She pulled herself onto the broom without any known strength of her own. Many minutes passed, thoughtless minutes spent breathing and shaking over the water. The sun set and she did not move. At some point, the night rolled in. She regained her senses over the open, dark ocean. When had that happened? Goodness, she had nearly drowned. Best not tell Madame Odette. She needed to get back to the shop. It was night, and certainly she would be worried. And certainly Marge would have to actually dust the whole shop tomorrow. But never mind that. The light of the Côte d'Ivoire were visible in the distance, so she took off toward them. The city held its own beauty. The yellow lights below may well have been a reflection of the stars above. Streets so familiar in the daytime proved much more difficult to navigate. Landmarks became shadow, and streets were black rivers flanked by the glowing of fireflies. Ow. Sorry, I just swallowed a bit of coffee, but I swallowed a little too hard. Difficult as it was to follow, she found the broomstick express tens of minutes later, distinctly bright against the other closed shops on the street. She hopped off her broom and hoped to sneak in, but Odette sat at the counter. Marjolaine! She whipped from behind the counter and stood tall before Marge, scowling more than she had ever seen. Do you have any idea how long I waited for you? I had even called the constables to look for you. Where have you been? I'm sorry, Madame Odette. Her throat locked up. Tears came to her eyes, but she powered through them. I was out doing deliveries all day. Marge turned out her purse of the day, a good number of coins, and a check addressed to the shop. It felt such a small amount now that she saw the lot, but she had worked so hard for it. That relaxed her shoulders, but only a little. I'm impressed, girl, but why did you leave without telling me? All day I've been sick with worry. I saw the bills. Marjolaine could barely choke out the words. The ones on top of the bookcase. I thought we would lose the shop. So I left to help the old man, and I took other jobs along the way. Odette's arms hung loosely at her sides. I helped the horrible old woman, but she paid well, and the doctor too. I tried to help a cafe owner as well, but he tricked me and I cursed his shop. Odette stood there, unable to meet her student's eyes. I do not want to ask for your help. I did not want to ask for your help. Why, Madame Odette? I would never not help you. I know. And you have, you sweet silly girl. You have helped more than you can ever know. I did not ask because I thought it was my job as the adult to take care of a child. An adult cannot lean on a child for help. They just can't. And this is my failing. You are so much more dependable than I ever thought. And I suppose I did not want to believe I could lean on you for anything because I have never leaned on anyone for anything. Marjolaine... She fell forward and embraced her student. Ah, I am so proud of you. You are a fine witch. But madame, I cursed someone today. We all make mistakes, Witchling. And I can see by your worry and your wet clothes that you have paid the price threefold already. But we might lose the shop. We will not lose the shop. I will see to it, and the money you gathered today will help. She hoisted her bag off her shoulder and onto the counter, taking out a billfold full of money. But do not think your teacher has not been busy all day. The elderly the elderly always need their remedies and poultice. I have made a fair amount myself. This combined with your earnings today should cover past due expenses. Come now. She patted Marge's head gingerly. I've made a stew. We'll talk about where you've been all day. Look at that face. The smell hit her first. It warmed Marjolaine to her core. Ocean water that soaked into her very bones was driven out by the smell of that stew. Her shoulders slumped and the exertion of the day finally slammed into her. So she flopped into a chair inside. That was the sight of someone much older than you, girl. What happened? Marge wrung her hands beneath the table. Would Madame Odette be angry with her? She had specifically turned the old man away, but she helped him anyway. Marjolaine? No stew until I've heard a story. Why is she always bribing her with food? It's always the food. First it was the croissant and now it's the stew. I helped the old man. Which one? The one who came by. You said he couldn't pay. That was no man, child. Did you not notice? Madame Odette? Odette stood there with a couple of bowls, quizzing her student with a look, urging her on. Nothing. You really did not notice he was a ghost? Marjolaine, I know you've been studying. You should know this. Well, I didn't know it was a ghost either. Not ghosts? Why not ghosts? They're scary. They are being spiritually trapped in this world because of a task yet completed. Ghost stories are nonsense, child. I guess that explains why, he disappeared afterwards? That's the explanation? He was a ghost this whole time? No wonder he had, a big-ass little thing on his coat. Only ghosts could have that, I suppose. You know this. Odette set the bowl before her student. And rather than sitting, she chose to lecture Marge in between bites. They do not retain memories beyond their old life. Surely you must have noticed this when you first met him. She thought back to the cafe. She did think it odd he mentioned it had been a long time since he'd seen a courier witch, even though they hadn't met 20 minutes before. But Marge had assumed he was old, forgetful, but a bit senile maybe. He returns every few years asking me to deliver his heart. I made that mistake once long ago. I will never make it again. Marge played with her stew, not really focusing on anything, instead mulling over the events of the delivery. I worked so hard to find that girl, Madame Odette, but she did not want his heart. She choked down a tear. He said he worked so hard for her. He just wanted to be a good person. Child, some people are not grateful for such a thing. He worked all his life for his ideal of being a good person, and in doing so, he ignored the ones he loved. He was so generous with his time and gave it so freely to others that he did not have enough left for those that truly mattered. Time is the most important thing to us as humans. We have so very little of it. We must parcel it out with care. Parcel it out with care. Parcel. That's a word that's rarely used. Choosing how to spend your time is the most important aspect of love, I think. Odette stopped pacing about the room. She took a seat and stirred her bowl. And even then, sometimes your time is not enough. Sometimes people do not want all you have to offer, and nothing you can give them will change how they feel. So you must accept it. You will not always be enough. You cannot make people like you or want you. There will come a time when you must accept that you are not enough, and you must move on. That is the reason the old man returns to my shop. He cannot accept this fact. His daughter Caroline will forever reject his affection. He will roam this earth until she relents, or until it is no longer a matter we must worry about. In silence the two ate, staring into their draining bowls until nothing was left. Odette finished first, of course, but Marsh was not far behind. She stood to take the dirty dishes. Odette thanked her. I still feel bad for him. I will convince his daughter that he loves her. That he loves her. That he does love her. I will complete this delivery one day, and you will owe me a cake. Odette smiled at her student. The cois with praline buttercream and meringue and ganache. Odette stifled a laugh, blowing air out of her nose at her beaming protege. Go and make us some tea. Marsh skipped over to the sink, then the burner, and then grabbed some dried mint leaves, the perfect flavor for a cup of tea after a hearty dinner. Mint tea, huh? Never had any myself. I always hear it's like, it smells nice though, obviously, mint. Minty mint. It would probably smell pretty good. She thought how well a croissant might go with some mint tea. That's so French. That's so fucking French. It's like, yes, croissant with this, croissant with that. A bit of yam, just a smidgen of a knife. She glanced over at Madame Odette, who was now deep in thought, with her shin on her hand, staring ahead, unfocused. Would it be wrong to disturb her? She had been scolded before about sneaking up on Odette when she was deep in thought, but she remembered her earlier words. Marjolaine approached and gave her a hug. So very briefly, Odette recoiled, then relaxed. Madame Odette? Your time is valuable to me. Odette teared up. She took a breath and embraced her student. Go and finish our tea, little witchling. And that's the end. I didn't take any screenshots. I don't think there was a button for that in this game. But, I'll figure something out when I came. I'm sure I could probably find something on the itch.io page. And that was little... the witchling... Marjolaine. There we go. The name came out of my mouth. Great little story. Loved it. Lovely, 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 quaint story about, you know, how you use your time, I guess. I did like the art style. The art style was very charming. And I'm so... The memory of the doodles of certain characters just gets me... It makes me smile a little. It's so silly to have done that. When older characters were also drawn, there was like no... Like, unless you refer to the factory worker, like the factory worker made sense why that would be done for him. But like the other guy, the alchemist, that doesn't... Like, the alchemist could have been a character, you know? Alchemist could have been a character as well. That we just had a full little thing of. Because, like, I mean, the manager of the coffee shop, of the once supposed great coffee shop, or cafe, I should say, it was fully drawn, you know? And so, like, it kind of makes you wonder. And, you know, the other characters that also made sense to just have its doodles were the clerk and the the other guy, the one we got the penicillin from. For those 2 or 3, it makes sense, but for the... I will stand on this hill and die on it and say that the alchemist should have had a sprite, or whatever you wish to call it. I'm gonna need to go back through this game and screenshot something. But let me see if there's actually a title. Not really. There's no title I can, like, save the image of. I know sometimes these kinds of games have ways for you to get rid of the little bars at the bottom, the conversation bar, so you can actually, like, screenshot and whatnot. I didn't save at any point in time either, because, you know, it was such a short story. Let me look at preferences real quick. Window, full screen, roll slide, unseen test. Oh, those are... there was no choices to be made, so no need to worry about skipping anything. I do like this background though. The swirl of the clouds, just kind of circular. That's kind of cool. And the writing was very good as well when it came to the descriptions and whatnot. That was also quite lovely. There were some words that I definitely had a difficulty in pronunciating. Most of them being the French ones, sometimes just things like parcel, which I had not heard in a long while. Parcel? That's a good word. Parcel. I like that word. I should use it. There was another word I told myself a while ago I was going to use that I heard from a video game. It was while I was watching a stream about... what game was it? It's one when... this is gonna sound weird. It's a game where you're a vampire cowboy who's a therapist for other vampires. And one of the clients that you're a therapist for in that game, he said some word that I was like, oh, that's a word I want to use. But I forgot about it. So that old man was a ghost this entire time? Interesting. I suppose, you know, with us being... with Marjolaine being a witch and whatnot, I should have expected that there would have been some amount of magical, supernatural shenanigan. I would have never guessed it, though. I was on the same vibe that Marjolaine was on, you know, thinking it was just an old man who was a little senile in the head. Because that, you know, sometimes that's the case. Sometimes you come across old people, you tell them something and they forget. I do that all the time. I'm not even an old man. I just be forgetting shit all the time. But oh well. I also like the musical choice for this. I don't know if the person or a group, assuming it could be a person. Hold on, let me see if it's like one singular person or if it's more than one person that made the game. Unfinished Circle was formed in 2012 with the goal of creating a visual novel called Love Despite. Since ultimately shelving the project, we have since released a couple of small visual novels and are currently working on our third. Okay, so they... by that language, it tells me they're a group of people. You can check them out on itch.io, they have a Discord, and a Twitter. They do have another project done here on itch.io that I might look into as well. Let me just look at it. It's called Canvas Colors in the Moving City. Don't know what that's about, but it's in a very similar art style to, you know, this visual novel that we just went through. A little different still, but like similar. Like you can see the similarities. Some of these posts are from a while ago, though. As in... 2021. 2022... March 2022. Damn, it's been a couple of years, hasn't it? I hope they're alright. I hope the group didn't disband, because this little game was lovely. Maybe they did. Sometimes that's how things go. I kind of forgot what year it was. And I was like, oh yeah, their last post was like a while ago, and I look at the date, and then I think about it, and I'm like, hold on, it's been like 3 years. It's been 3 years. But I would still recommend checking their stuff out. I'm definitely gonna check out Canvas Colors in the Moving City, which is the synopsis here reads, while doing routine deliveries in a moving city, postman Maggie and her companion Vale seek out a house that was left behind. Who answers the door of that house was the last person either of them expected. And it was made for the 2021 NaNoReno Game Jam. And you have a little character descriptions. Vale, a young magician with an interest in flowers. She's quick to shift her attention to whatever shiny new thing interests her. And Maggie, I think it's Maggie. I don't know why I read that as Maggie. Oh, hi there, Ma. How are you doing? I already played this game. It's done. I'm just going over another game this group made. You're late. It's over. You fool. But hi, how are you doing, bot? I hope you're doing alright. I might download it and start it right now. Actually, let me see if they have it on Twitch as a category. Because this one was short. It was like 2 hours, barely. Canvas. That's not how you spell canvas. I can't spell. Canvas. Colors. It is a game. It is a category. You're alright, thanks for asking. You're very welcome for being asked. I might... It's also like about an hour, and it has 2 endings. You know what? I can do this one too. Download now. Because I do want to play it. But yeah, we just went through this little story. It's a good one. If you want to check it out, it's on itch.io. I would recommend it. It's just a little visual novel. It takes less than like 2 hours to read through. Because clearly I got done pretty quick with it. And the character designs are pretty nice, pretty lovely. I'm downloading the other game. And I'm going to be playing it as well. Made by the same people. Known as, let me go through this name again, Unfinished Circle. Kind of a funny name, but it is what it is. Canvas colors in the moving city. Okay. And let me rename the stream. What should I rename it? There we go. Making deliveries. Sure, that's good enough. You'll probably try it in a few months after your Elden Ring / Deltarune addiction settles down. How many times can you play Deltarune? You can only really play Deltarune a few times. Let alone Elden Ring, more understandable. You should have been here yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday when Lemmy showed up and was describing to me the mod that he had just placed into his Elden Ring thing so that he can fight an even harder version of Radahn, you know, the consort fight. He just decided to make the Radahn fight much more difficult. Like, ungodly difficult. I'm talking anime fight scene, like Jujutsu Kaisen type shit, kinda hard. From the description alone, anyways, it seemed like that was what was going on. Okay, games backlog. Extract all. I forget I have to go through this little process. It's gonna take a little while. I guess a few seconds, nothing more. And then I will use the bathroom as once I set this game up. Skedaddle to the restroom. Okay, there we go. Oh, hold on. What am I doing here? There we go. Put this game away. There we go, and then this should... Oh, that's the wrong one. Right here. Run anyway. Hopefully it downloaded correctly. If it didn't, I'm gonna have to redo that. Game, hello? Gamers don't get up to go potty. That reminds me of that one video of the guy where, like, the kid, you know, like, he's playing GTA or something, and his mom is like, go to the bathroom. He's like, she's like screaming her lungs out at him. He's like, not yet, not yet. Let me redo this, because I think it didn't download correctly. Get rid of that. Extract. Yes. I think you know the one I'm talking about, right? I can't be the only one that's seen that. That shit was ridiculous. He was so calm and chill about it, too. Just slightly annoyed. And his mother, his poor mother, makes you think where he is now. Where has this man gone in his life? What's become of his poor mother? Run anyway. There we go. Where's the thing? Game capture. Should pop up. There we have it. This one's kinda small. I might have to full screen this one. Didn't need to full screen the last game. Settings, let's see. Full screen? Let's see if that fixes up the issue. Okay, it's a little bigger than it should be, but let's see. How do I fix this? There we go. That's proper. I will use the restroom though. I'll be right back. Alright, I return. Sorry for the wait there. Sorry for the wait. Eyeball, ow. Feels like there's something in my eye, and I cannot tell whether I've taken it out or not. But there shouldn't be, hopefully. Anyway, let us go with this story. I wonder what this one will be about. What the hell is that thing right there? little centipillar guy. Caterpillar? Centipillar? I don't know what to refer to him as. Chanus had many names. It was the marching state. It was the town of transients. Most simply called it the moving city. And it was here where a woman named Maggie made her work. Maggie was a postman, and thus had many different responsibilities. Let me make sure music's not too loud. You're on my second monitor? What do you mean I'm on your second monitor? I should be in your main monitor. I should be the forefront of your mind. Presently, it was the delivery of a dwindling bundle of letters in a bag which she carried, a trivial task were this not to be done in the moving city. After all, it would be a poorly nicknamed if the buildings did not at all walk and wheel and limp and scamper about all on their own. As such, there was no fixed city plan, there was no main walkway or artery, and there were no streets, or permanent ones anyway. It's just a little too loud? Just a little? I'll turn it down just a smidge. Right here should be fine. It does have a louder bass to it, so I get that it's a little louder. Someone had to turn their eyes up, which is what Maggie did, and this was how one navigates the city. Above the homes and the shops fluttered each a set of flags to indicate what is where and who lives where. But anyway, Maggie stood in a square. The stones beneath her foot remained in place in spite of rumbling beneath her, and beside her, and all about her various visible radius. Buildings shifted and lumbered forward and to the left and to the right, and some lagged behind and changed positions so as to not crash into another. From where she stood, she had a decent enough view of the place. There she remained, not wholly out of fatigue, but because she was looking for the flags to which she must deliver her remaining few letters. I like the plumes she has on her head, like on the on the hat. She's a very fancy postman, like when you think about it, like a plumed hat, a cape, you know, a pauldron thing, presumably gold. Maybe it's not gold, it could be brass, you know? She squinted at the heights of a glimpse of her targets, keeping the contents of her satchel firmly in her mind. To home with a red flag with a line upon it, moving city. To shop, green, checkered flag, pig sign over door, Shinazu or moving city. To house, blue, red flag, black dirt, moving sites. Moving city. Okay, this spelling is horrendous, whoever wrote this last letter. To home, move flag over a green flag, moving city. She blew a bit of air out of her nose, which one of her job functions was to deliver these letters. While one of her job functions was to deliver these letters, certainly she wasn't expected to know the name of every color of the rainbow. So Maggie happened on a passerby and asked. Like, holy moly. This text is a little hard to read. Pardon me, sir. The man froze. It was not the sight of the postman that stopped him, but her race. Plainly, Maggie was not human. Her pointed ears, tall stature, and feathered head painted Maggie as one of the vain, so she smiled at the man and maintained her distance. I'm having a small difficulty with some deliveries. Would you mind telling me what color mauve is? Mauve? It's okay if you gotta slow down when you read. I'm already slow enough as a reader. I think I need to do the opposite. I need to speed up. The man took a half step backwards, as if he were making to run off somewhere. But when he saw that the vein give no reaction, he appeared to give that up. Either she would catch up to him or she posed no threat. It's kinda pink-purple, or light purple maybe. You're looking for... He stopped himself. He was old, so it was entirely possible he was a war veteran, and the scars of those who lived history would always be fresher than those who did not. So the sight of a Venlish postman before him was equally ridiculous as it was terrifying. Yet he continued. I never really liked her anyway. Thinks real highly of herself. Does she now? She's got a green flag too, so look for that. It's a plain green. Then you'll see that mauve flag or whatever she calls that nonsense. I have places to be, so I'm leaving. She thanked him for his time and looked again at the roofs of the building. Soon enough, her target appeared to her between a four-legged tower and a squat, wheeled home with many windows. The occupants were already lowering bridges between the buildings. This was the other tricky part of being a postman in the moving city. A bridge could be many things. Therefore, when Maggie saw her path must cross two loosely forged wheeled metal mosaics, she steeled her... Oh, okay, I can... That's interesting. I accidentally, middle mouse clicked, and that's how... Okay. Huh. I can remove the text that way. I see. Screenshot time. Thank you, game, for allowing me to screenshot. Okay, let me reread that. Therefore, when Maggie saw her path must cross the two loosely forged, welded metal mosaics, she steeled herself and got on with the business of advanced level walking. Her each step produced a different creak, an almost musical effect that may have delighted her were the earth not rushing by 12 feet below. She fought the impulse to look down, though in crossing only halfway, she saw the only thing keeping the bridge moored to the other end were a couple of sacks of flour. No, she thought, this is not a bridge, this is an ordeal. When the square behind her shook and in turn rattled the bridge, she voted immediately to sprint the remaining 10 feet. Her boots rattled the bridge with each pounding step, shaking the flour bags bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit. She arrived. Maggie took only a moment to steady her nerve and allowed a moment for her knees to cease their quivering. As she calmed herself, she thought to exact a fine on the owners of this plot of land, the builder of this bridge, and for endangering the lives of many who thought to cross. She even thought to kick the bridge over the side for the betterment of everyone. Of both thoughts, she entertained neither, and instead reset the sacks of flour to stabilize the path some, and she continued on quickly. The woman found her target soon enough and with little further trouble. There was the green flag, there was the pink-purple flag above it, and that was all the verification she required after risking her life. Typically, she would ask the recipient for some sort of identification, as it was her job as a postman to confirm people who are who they say they are. It was her job as well to check up on them and investigate ill-going-ons and apprehend criminals and their dealings at her discretion. Okay, so she's not just a postman, she's like straight up a cop. Cop postman. These postmen in these cities seem to have quite a lot of jobs. Like, too many jobs, really. But this time she merely wanted to be done with her deliveries so she could pound back a tall mug of ale and relax. Now remained... Hold on. So she dropped the delivery in a little letterbox by the door, and that was the end of it. Now remained the 3 letters. She found the shop with the green checkered flag first, which turned out to be a pub, and she made a mental note to visit them later, bidding them luck that the letter was not a bill. She found the house with the blue-red flag and the black door next. And the recipient was a rather crotchety old woman who threatened violence upon the man who wrote the letter. Please, no slurs on stream. What do you mean, no slurs on stream? Oh, I got so confused there for a second. You confused me. I understand now. She requested Maggie stick around a moment while she wrote her reply that she did not in fact owe the man any money, and that it was a bet made over 30 years ago, so it was past time to let that go. The old woman made sure to spit into the envelope before handing it to Maggie. Her letter rivaled the previous as an exercise atrocity of penmanship, made worse by the haste in which she had written the thing, and the gob of spittle that had begun to leak through. Maggie reminded her to attach the proper postage, and she headed off with directions, all the while keeping watch for the final home. The postman dropped off the damp envelope without ceremony, or without so much as a knock on the door. Best not to get caught up in this mess, she thought. But then there was the final letter. It had been hours and its owner was nowhere in sight. She checked the address again. Red flag with lion upon it. Nothing of the sort appeared to her. Maggie found a high plaza surrounded by a dense cluster of buildings, most of which moved by mechanical leg. She watched for a moment. It was a small wonder none of them stepped on one another or tripped over another's legs. Rather, it was more like an intricate dance than a group of homes and businesses marching aimlessly through the desert. From her vantage point, she had a better view of the city. Certainly there were red flags, but most appeared plain, and of the remainder, none appeared to be the ones she saw. Was it possible the house had fallen behind? They all seemed tethered to one another, moving together as a school of hearings. Perhaps, she giggled to herself, a larger house had eaten it. "Excuse me, miss." Maggie caught the attention of a woman passing by. "I'm looking for a home with a red flag that has a lion on it." "Afraid I don't know that one, sorry." She marched on her way, so Maggie found another person. "Sir, could you help me find someone?" Why is this man looking like that? "I am in a hurry, postman." "Will this take long?" "I'm looking for a house with a red flag that should have a lion on it." "Couldn't help you. Good day." And this continued for the greater part of an hour. It seemed none knew or cared to let slip where the house might be. Maggie even considered covering her feathers and hiding her ears, as if that were the source of the problem, though it was more likely the people around her simply did not know. This was a city, after all. Who could keep track? Who memorized the numbers of the buildings on a lane? So she switched tactics and put on her thief-taker's demeanor. She put her hand on her sword and stopped the first person she saw. "Sir, I need to speak with you for a moment regarding a case." A postwoman's job was not just to deliver parcels and correspondence. A postman's job was they were guards and hunters of criminals, and could even be called on as a militia. As such, each postman carried a sword on their waist. Okay. She's just gonna draw her damn sword on a random ass civilian. That's plainly stupid and probably an abuse of power, but you know what? Not my problem. She drew her weapon on the man for a bit of an intimidation, better to play the part of a mildly unhinged lawbringer. The man's eyes widened and he stopped everything he was doing. A home has gone missing lately and I suspect something odd afoot. Do you know anything of the sort? A home missing? No, not that I recall. I mean, there was that one house a couple of days ago that broke down. A house broke down? Yeah, it was just a small one, you know, and so other people, they tried helping her out. Must have been a bad furnace or something, so the people offered to help and she just didn't say anything. Looked like she lost a big bet. Eventually, she told everyone to back off and that was the end of it. That's all I know. Why are we acting like we wouldn't do this? The sword is my new entertainment. Listen, I wouldn't because I'm responsible and can be trusted with weapons. I would not point it at you unless I wanted something. Did this house have a red flag? What? I don't know, maybe. I don't remember that well. She slackened her stance and nodded to let him leave. Look at that little smile. I kinda wanna screenshot this alone. Just this a bit. There we go. I like how there's this little worm. Just this little unexplained worm. If this was indeed the place she was looking for, she would need to hire a carriage to backtrack the city's path. While the city plodded along, it was not so slow that her task would not take hours long. This was proving far more difficult than it needed to be. Maggie resolved to transfer out of the city once this last delivery was done. But she would again be taking Vale further from her home. She was distracted for a moment thinking of the young girl that traveled with her. Vale had followed Maggie around for at least a month now, and she was beginning to wonder if the girl was at all homesick, or even thought to write of her to her family. But that was a question for when she was around. And so Maggie found another poor pedestrian to interrogate and set about looking for her carriage. She found Vale in the crowded plaza, entrancing a small group with magic and parlor tricks. She would briefly conjure up a glowing, pale light about her fingers and then, once the interest of the crowd was locked, placed her hands together and pretended to separate her thumb from her hand. One of the group gasped while the remainder clapped, dropping small coins in a wicked basket nearby. Once they were gone, Vale huffed, but upon seeing Maggie approach, she brightened right up. How'd it go? They looked impressed, would have impressed even my family. I did the glowy thing with my hand and pretended to remove my thumb, and before that I pretended to float. Did you see how impressed with my magic they were? And they dropped a whole bunch of coins into the basket. I think it's like that thing where you throw flowers at a play. Or they think you're poor. Wish she might be, I don't know. It's a version of that, yeah. So I guess you could say I'm getting better with this magic stuff, don't you think? I think so. Maybe a traveling magician will take you on as an apprentice. Vale puffed up a bit in pride, turning her head to hide the blush. We shall have to wait. I'm on a mission. Anyway, all done? Not quite. We have to hire a carriage for the last one. Apparently houses can break down, and for some reason the lady who lives in the house wished not for help. So we have to now a several hours ride ahead of us. Vale flicked the few coins out of her basket like they were ants in a pastry. I don't know how to say that. She then took the basket and followed Maggie. The pair crossed several bridges to a ferry service which Maggie had located earlier. They found the shop owner, and at once Maggie flashed her postman's badge. He bade them follow downstairs to a low balcony where they saw a trio of carriages, each hooked up to a craggy stone golem. What the hell? The golem stood idle like large statues staring into the receding horizon with no apparent sentience. The shop owner scribbled something on a piece of paper, unhinged the skull cap of one of the golems, slipped the note inside, and closed it up. Soon the golem shivered to life, and Maggie and Vale boarded the cab and they set off. They just... the fucking golem carriage. Why not? Strange form of transportation, but you know, can't be stranger than a moving city, I guess. And I like how you see the shifting of the city in the background back there, beyond the mountain. Or the hill, I suppose. As they sat, Vale took out a small field guide and flipped quickly to a specific page, showing it to Maggie. Did you remember to ask anyone if they've seen this flower? She turned her book of horticulture to face the postman, pointing to a long-stemmed flower with little bell-shaped blooms which hung as if they were wilting. There was next to it a cutaway diagram of the flower and a picture of its leaves, about which were scrawled notes in some human dialect Maggie could not read. No one's heard of it, that I could tell. Mom says they found the east... Let me reread that. Mom says they're found to the east, but she's only got a faint reckoning of exactly where. Mayhaps we're not far enough. Okay, she's got like a British accent, I guess. Could be. And that reminds me, Vale, have you written your family yet? Vale was silent and turned to her book. You know it's no good going so far and so long without even a word you're alright. They'll be worried about you. Vel buried her face in the book now, and Maggie elected to drop the matter. It had been several weeks since she had contacted her own family. Perhaps it was hypocrisy of her to press Vale into it. I've been on lots of journeys. Mom knows I'm okay, and Dad isn't at all worried. I've been away from home lots of times. The girl set her book down, though she continued to stare at its pages. I just don't think I'm yet good enough at writing letters. Does that make any sense? A little. Maggie smiled and turned to look at the landscape rolling slowly by. Already the clatter and thump of the city began to fade. Cactus. Sorry, just saw one. Can I hold your sword? Maggie stared awake. Was I asleep? I think so. So? I'm sorry? Can I hold your sword? Do all postmen carry these? All postmen do carry these, yes, but we cannot permit anyone other than a postman to carry them. It's an insult to the uniform, for one. I would get it in trouble for another, and you could hurt yourself. I'll be careful. Sorry, Vale, no. I'll bet you use it all the time. I have used it several times, yes, mostly to encourage people to make wise decisions. Stars seemingly appeared in the young girl's eyes. Have you ever fought? She toned her voice down low, as if the next word might conjure up something evil. Monsters? Once. Vale dropped her book to the floor. Whoa. It was a difficult day. I struggle, well, to forget it. And I think best not repeat outside some very thick walls. Cactus? Listen. Sometimes you see something and you have to point it out. I was thinking about, like, eating them. Like, I know some cacti can be eaten. And when I looked at it, I just kind of wanted to eat it. Don't know why. And after many drinks, she muttered to herself, okay, can we... hold on. History? Let me see. Yeah, some very thick walls. And after many drinks, she muttered to herself, I wouldn't be afraid of monsters if I was you. If I was you, you'd scare him away before... You scare him away before they got in sword distance. Maggie looked out the window, hoping Vale would find something else to ask about, and Vale then startled herself with a realization. I just remembered I got these earlier. She produced some little hand pies, handed two to Maggie. One's sweet and one's not. I'm eating the sweet one first. It's got the seeds on top. Maggie started the opposite way and found it was filled with a jam of bacon and onion, with a bit of potato here and there. You heard there's some shit you can drink out of cactuses? Oh yeah. Apparently there's like, it's because they hold water in them, I think. Some of them do, because you know, they have to survive. And if you cut some of them, they sometimes have like moisture or like water in them. Some of them, you shouldn't drink, I think. But that might be in different deserts. I'm not too sure about that. Her stomach was quite out of room before she was half finished with the pie. Do all the Venless become postmen? I have not seen many, though there may be a complicated reason behind it. Vale left it at that and tucked into her second pie. How old do you all really get? I am not certain. No one really told me. Do you know how old humans get? Nope, but I hear the Ven get older. Perhaps I'll find out. So how much further are we to this last house? Can't say. I just know to follow the track back until we hit it. It broke down 2 days ago, so I've gathered, and judging by how fast the city moves, that we'll approach it in a couple of hours. Do the houses break down a lot? Some do. Usually the community seems to come together to get them up and running, but this person didn't want help for some reason. Maybe they thought they could fix it themselves. I broke my dad's favorite shovel once. He said he could fix it, but I told him I would do it, since I broke it and it's my responsibility to make it right. That's what he taught me. Vale beamed in pride, remembering the heated lesson. Did you fix it? I broke it more, so I got him a new one, but it's fine, since he likes the new one better. Maybe we should help this person fix their home. So we break it and get her a new one? Well, no, I think because the houses are run by magic that I can fix them by magic, right? If I try to fix a non-magic thing by magic, then it explodes. I don't think a magical house would explode. Let's hope not. Yeah, let's really hope they don't fucking just kablamo a house. They had thus passed in silence. Vale had fallen asleep some minutes ago, and Maggie was finishing her second pie, which she guessed was filled with dates and was as rich as the first had been. And now I want like a small meat pie. A bacon, potato, and whatever pie, like that seems kinda good. Shepherd's pie I guess is the closest thing I could find. If I were to like quickly go somewhere and get some. Sorry, just checking on something real quick. Putting that to the side, she decided it was a poor idea to let Vale choose lunch. Even still, in spite of her overfull stomach and sore backside from hours of sitting, Maggie was content. The red rocks and wiry vegetation that crept by were calming, and so was the knowledge that she would soon be finished with her job. And so Maggie hummed a tune to herself, and before long, Vale stretched and groaned. What's that? What's that song? It's a marching tune. Did you learn that in the army? Okay, so postmen become army men? Oh, and I see her like shoulder plate thing. It's not like just like brass. It's like it's got a steel diamond on it as well. Maggie let out a small laugh. You overguess how old I am, Vale. And besides, one of my commanding officers taught it to me. Do you know the words? I do, but I'm afraid it would make for poor listening. Vale grumbled at the vainlish woman and said, You're far too serious, Maggie. Maggie felt a little hurt, so she turned back to the window and sighed. And she sang slowly this. She's Yellow's age, maybe. From the baker's cry heard in square. Then I don't know how we're supposed to go over this. To any able lad who dare, for noble cause and hearty pay, over the hills and far away. O'er the hills and round the I feel like I could sort of sing this, but I don't have the spirit for it. From calmly shore to farther bay, our king commands and we obey. Over the hills and far away, from home to fire, through smoke and spell, companions all around me fell, for kin and king and country way, over the hills and far away. As she sang the chorus once more, Vale pulled out a little notebook and scribbled the words as quickly as she could. For 90 days and maybe more, we met the foe at every ford. No bitter end we see today, over the hills and far away. Vale was writing in a mad fury and seemed to catch by the time Maggie had finished the chorus again. Of many battles have we seen, to find our sovereign's head cleaved. Our lords are fled, our king is slain, over the hills and far away. O'er the hills and gone away, through the southern fields and salted plain. Now queen commands and we obey, over the hill and far away. Damn, they got their king fucking slaughtered. Maggie's voice cracked and she held back the next lines. Indeed, she turned back to the window in embarrassment, ceasing to sing or even speak further. You were right, Maggie. That was a bit sad. Was that how the war with the Vane went? Is that why all the older folk are cross with you? Roughly. Then people are fools. You weren't there, were you? And it isn't like it was your fault all the battles and stuff didn't go the way they should have. Maggie kept quiet, searching for words. Perhaps it doesn't matter. Anyway, we've arrived. The carrier halted and Maggie groaned out of her seat, stretching her back. Once she sat upon the dusty earth. I don't know where I got boot from. Evening waned on a lone house partly listed into the red dirt. About it was planted many small succulents and desert plants in the early stages of cultivation. And up top a red flag fluttered in the cooling air. There was a line on it. We're just going to turn back around, aren't we? Yes, but I think I'll check upon this person. We at least deserve to know the face of one for whom we've traveled far to see, wouldn't you agree? Vale nodded and followed along, only to become distracted by a flower cactus. She took out her notebook and started to sketch the flower as Maggie knocked at the door. There was a soft voice from inside, which answered, and when the woman inside finally opened the door to face her, Maggie's heart iced over. Maggie! Vale looked up from her distraction to see a human woman embracing Maggie. The vain woman was too shocked to respond at first, but when she had back her senses, she returned the hug. Vale approached the pair and they separated. The human woman looked up at Maggie, committing her face to memory. Maggie? Oh, Vale, this is my sister, Amarella. Amarella nodded at the young girl. And this is Vale. She travels with me. You're not a Vane. The woman paid no heed to Vale's comment. I was only to have a light dinner tonight, but I'm open for a change, and I've a little keg of some Vanelish ale I've long sought an excuse to tap. Come, you two. Maggie hesitated, holding one of her arms and shifting her weight between each leg. That won't do, Maggie, I insist. Fine, but first... Maggie whipped out her final letter of the day, all addressed to Amarella, who took them with a curtsy. I don't know why I said that, like it was gonna continue. Will the postman be asking how my day has gone? Amarella. Fine. These will be my delivery changes, I expect. Nothing interesting to open, I'm sure. She seized Maggie's wrist and dragged her inside. Vale followed as if she were a shadow. B. There's a B on the shelf. They entered the home. The floor was level in spite of the slight angle of the house from the outside. There was a large hearth at the end of the main room where the markings of an evening's fire lay just unlit. There was a small table by the hearth, and only a single intricate chair sat there. The table itself was covered in plant clippings, and several half-full earthen pots, which Amarilla quickly swept away, leaving the table bare. She left Maggie and Vale there, and hustled into the kitchen, calling out to them, "Do make yourselves comfortable, I'll be but a moment." And indeed, she was out quite soon, with a couple of boards of some sausage and a wheel of cheese. She then set them up on the table, while Vale found herself a tall box to sit on, scooting it up to the table. "Maggie, light the fire, please." Decisions. I know there's like 2 endings to this. And I guess we get to make an actual choice. Either get Vale to do it, or light the fire ourselves. This seems like a very inane thing. Pre-bad ending, imagine. I mean, maybe we can do magic ourselves. Maybe Maggie can do magic and she's just like not doing it. I don't know. Magic seems pretty normal. Get Vale to do it? No one tells me. No one tells you what to do. Sure. Maggie locked eyes with Vale, who took her meaning and interjected, "I'll do it." And the girl raised her arms, closed her eyes, and held the attention of the room while she concentrated. Soon enough, a small series of sparks popped beneath the pile of logs, which then fizzled into a small flame, which soon erupted into a full fire. Amarilla clapped. "My sincerest compliment to the young magician." Vale stuck out her chest and turned her head to hide her blushing. So Amarilla sliced the sausages, humming to herself a tuneless song. "I presume to be your last stop for the day, I take it?" "You are." "More wholesome than you thought it would be?" "Yeah." What a wonderful coincidence this is. I have no idea you had left home. Mother and father did not reveal this to me. It is a recent change, and one which has proven most satisfactory, I must say. I've forgotten the beer. One moment. Amarilla wiped her hands on her dress and pattered off into another room. She seems happy. In spite of her situation, yes. I think she missed you. Yes, well, I did too. I think I'll write to my family tonight. It was then that Amarilla arrived with a small keg, humming while she set it sideways upon an upturned crate. She hurried back into the kitchen and soon returned with a spigot and a wooden mallet. She set the spigot against a disc of cork which stuck out from the face of the keg, and taking the mallet, she struck the spigot to drive it into the keg. It took several whacks and a little beer spilt onto the floor, but that was an unavoidable casualty. Might father disapprove your experience with such a task? Was he who taught me, Maggie, but that was after you went off to your postman's training. Oh, but I jest. Some men in Shanus taught me the craft. I tended a bar for some weeks until my little exile. From someplace, Amarilla produced a trio of mugs. 2 she filled near the brim, but for the 3rd she addressed Vale. And for the young lady? Fine Vanelish ale. Amarilla paused a moment and looked to Maggie. Just a bit to taste. Indeed. So Amarilla dripped a bit off the keg into the final mug and handed it off to Vale. She took the mug with both hands and reverence and awe of the ruby-red liquid within. That was a lot. That was always on about the legendary Vanlish Veil. And she took a sip, and she took a gulp, and she screwed up her face and set down the mug in disappointment, which had Maggie and Amarella laughing. Then they clapped together their mugs and took a long drink each, and each set their mug with a satisfied sigh. I needed that. Venlish beer is disgusting. It is a taste developed with age, both for the beer and the one who drinks it. Hear, hear. She raised her mug and Amarella obliged, and the sisters finished their drinks, though Maggie was only just the soonest. You refill those then. I shall get something more palatable for the young lady. Amarella wandered back to the kitchen and returned with a mug of some red juice and poured a bit of veil, topping it off with a little bit of... and poured a bit for veil, topping it off with a little bit of ale. For luck! In this form, Vale found the drink much more agreeable. It was a little sweet and tasted much less of the yeasty fizzy brew she'd had earlier. And then Amarilla took a seat at the table, continuing the silence to slice the summer sausage as she had brought in, though Maggie went in quickly for a bit of cheese. How's the life of a postman? Have you delivered some particularly important correspondence of late? I do not read the letters, Amarilla, but there have been some, a less private mind, though the people with loose tongues tend to be given the least important or interesting information. If their superiors are wise, then the wisdom runs wide, as far as I heard. Anyway, mail is not all I do. Oh, this is all I have ever seen you at. Granted, it's not the... Maggie leaned into her drink, searching for words until Vale broke in with a whisper. Did you know? She's fought bandits once. The news snapped up all of Amarilla's attention and her face darkened. She set her knife upon the table and put her full attention to Maggie, who sat seeking her eyes. Maggie kept in her mug. Did she now? How did the tale go? 4 men accosted us on the road to Shanus, and I dispatched them. Maggie, don't be so boring. Amarilla searched for Maggie's eyes, but her gaze was avoided. There were 4 of them, big and ugly and mean-looking, and they wanted the contents of Maggie's satchel, right? So Maggie said, you may not have this, it's official postman business, or something like that, and of them, he was their leader, I think, but because he was the biggest of them all, he said, wrong answer, girlie, I don't care if you're a bloody vein or not, there's 4 of us. Wait a second, that guy in the back, we came across that guy in the city. So Maggie said back, only 4? And she put her hand on her sword like this, and one of the guys, he lost his nerve and then took off. She didn't even have to draw it or anything. But the remaining 3 just laughed at him and yelled some bad stuff after him, and they were all more profit for us. And that's when Maggie told me to run, and she drew out her sword. And so Vale popped out of her seat and displayed her best approximation of Maggie's stance. Amarilla had her hands on her cheeks. But I hid nearby, though. I wasn't at all worried. So they all charged, and she kicked the nearest one in the shins, and hit another one with the handle. The pommel? Right, pommel. And the last followed, and the last fellow, he dropped his club and ran away too. So Maggie approached the leader, and she put his sword to his throat like this. Vale grabbed a stick from a nearby surface and pointed it downward at what could have been a defeated villain lying belly up at her mercy. She had her most determined glare pointed at him, and she said, I ought to put the pair of you to death and save everyone the trouble. I didn't realize how freaking... her sister's face is just shocked. You wouldn't mess with those guys, Yellow. They would probably shove me in a locker. I'm a god. I don't think I have anything to worry about. And they all were like, ah, sorry, we'll never do it again. We was just going to knock yours out and take your shite. No harm to ye beyond that, miss. No, sorry, I mean, my lord. And you know what she did? She knocked them out with the pommel, and we were on our way. Most impressive. Father was correct to place you amongst their lot, I see. Maggie fell into her mug, hiding her expression with a swig of beer. Vale beamed, and the room was silent after that, if not for the crackling fire. Vale shrunk back a little, and though she knew she had done nothing wrong, it felt as if she had. The sisters were silent for a time, and eventually Amarella slid her mug across the table, knocking it against Maggie's and tossing it back. Maggie took a deep breath and did the same. Then let us speak of lighter things than highwaymen and endangered children. Tell me, Vale, how did you come to join my sister's wanderings? I was looking for a flower. Oh. Vale fumbled about her bag for her little book and flipped to a page she had folded over, and thrust it atop the table for Amarella to see. This is the one. Maggie said she helped me find it. Have you seen it anywhere? I'm afraid I have not. My cultivations are all things of the scrubland currently, like that red juice. It's from a cactus not too far from here. I took the fruits of it. Cactuses make fruit? They make all sorts of things, though I must say stings in the hands are the most common. Vale eyed the bandage on her wrist. And some of the big ones have water inside of them, though you shouldn't drink it as it doesn't agree with the stomach. I know this from personal experience, so you can take this advice as paramount. Of course, if you've properly prepared for a trip, you shouldn't need to forage for water out here. But given no other option, you should seek out a plant with red fruits on it. You know a lot about the scrubs. I've been industrious with my time out here. Maggie finally perked up some and brought a question. Speaking of, how did you come by this plot of land? I had heard from the townsfolk that a house had broken down. Indeed. And that the owner refused everyone's aid. Yes, well, would you like some cheese, Vale? I'm very fond of this variety, and I think you should like it too. Maggie raised a brow. Perhaps this was something her sister preferred not to talk about, or perhaps this was a problem of her own doing. Regardless, she let the question fall away while Amarella doted on Vale. Perhaps more beer would reveal that what she secreted away, Maggie thought, and she topped off the mugs. The night had fallen on the land, and the inside of the homes were filled with laughter and bold resolutions as one often makes after several drinks. Vale sat on her crate by the tables as the sisters stumbled through a cheerful drinking song, led along by Maggie, who had an easier time remembering how it went. And the song ended, and Amarella fell into her chair, laughing. I've not heard that one in quite some time. And then the bars here make terrible songs, always the same 3 ones over and over again. As if they'd no imagination. Someone ought to teach them something new. Yes, they should. Simply ask a postman, I suppose. Okay, so the little feathers are a part of them. You live in such a vibrant place, but it's as if... Even the postmen, Maggie, even the postmen are so boring. You live in such a vibrant place, but it's as if their minds are full up on how they might get to work 5 minutes from now, and they have no creativity except for how to walk. Walk? You know, to where they're going. The buildings are all moving, Maggie. Amarella tried in vain to pour some more beer, but the pair had drained it quite thoroughly. I fear our kegs has run dry. My finest Vanlish red. My cherished and most fondest friend, though empty mug has brought me sorrow. I shall regret you on the morrow. Amarilla snorted and giggled wildly, and Vale was becoming a little irritated with the sisters. Do you think drunk driving do you think drunk driving's illegal in this world? You hope not. I don't think I don't think there's any such thing as driving in this world, if I'm being honest. Amarilla snorted and giggled uh, wildly, and Vale was becoming a little irritated. Okay, I already read that. It was as if everything she said was funny, though nothing really was, and Maggie was occupied completely with her own drink, seeming to shut everything else out. Vale could not even goad her to direct the conversation into something more interesting. Like, you gotta remember, we were like on a carriage being pulled by a stone golem, so I don't know how traveling works. Not in this world, at least. There isn't enough information on that. Beard made fools of everyone, but at least the mood was light. Maggie, mate, when you get back to that blasted town, you should find the nearest pub you can and sing them a new song, because they could all use it. Whichever should I pick? Something in Venlish. Give them a real shock. I need only stroll into the pub for that. Yes, well... Amarilla threw her hands up as if that was to get her point across. Vale... What should she do? Let me save another time. Took her book outside, or asked how Vane and Aheman came to be sisters. I'll flip a coin. Heads for the top, tails for the bottom, as, you know, should be obvious. Ow. Where did my coin go? It fell on the floor. It, like, landed on my fingers and just rolled on the floor somewhere. Where the fuck is this thing? Oh, come on. I think I lost my coin. Just close your eyes and click. Well, I'll know where the thing is. I know where each option is. I just want to make things a little more interesting. Hold on. I'll be back in a second. You would pick the top one, though. I don't have to. Well, I got no clue where that thing went. And it was a special coin, too. Damnation. Damnation. Oh well. I guess it is not up to the fates this time around, and I'll... Okay, why is my PC doing the thing again? I do this. Disappear for a second. That's gonna take me off. That coin. I'll need to find it later. Bloody hell. Alright. Decisions. Took her book out and went outside. I wanna see what little trouble she gets into. It was then Vale decided she was having no more of these drunken ramblings, and she slipped outside. The night sky was as it had been back home, and there was a feeling of longing within her. She looked to the glittering stars, felt the cold desert breeze, and heaved a sigh. She set about inspecting Amarella's garden. The moons were bright enough that she could read her own writing. About 25 cents? It was a dollar coin. One of those that was kinda yellow. I can't describe it because I don't have it in my hand anymore. I seriously don't know where that thing went. It just like vanished. It like landed on my hand, on like the tip of my finger, and then just went away. Vale passed the pages, each its own memorial, and she found the song Maggie had sung and smiled. And she took a new page and her charcoal to begin sketching up the plants she saw. It was some time later when Maggie found her. Cold? A little. Is your sister still up? Not for long. I've set a couple of bedrolls by the fire when you're ready. She missed you dearly. She missed you dearly. She needed that drink, yes, and as did I. Maggie turned, yet hesitated to leave the young girl. It was fun. Why is she out in the desert? I didn't seize a chance to ask. I'll try again in the morning. She let the girl back inside, where Amarilla sat quietly before the fire. She turned to greet Vale. Most discourteous of me to become so taken with drink tonight, as I would fail to entertain my guest. My apologies, Vale. It's alright, your plants are pretty. Thank you. I have work to do yet, but I'm proud of my efforts thus far. Amarilla smiled softly. It is late, and the drink has begun to wear away. The pair of you may rest here the night, and don't refuse my offer, Maggie, I insist. The way back will be long, and longer still in the morning. You'll find better rest under this roof than that of a wobbly carriage. She pointed at a chest by the door and continued. There you may find blankets, and I have a spare bedroll for the young miss. I trust you have your own? I have one, yes. I will return. Amarilla withdrew to another room and came back with a roll of down for Vale to sleep on. They set themselves up before the fireplace, which had begun to die down a little. Maggie tossed on another log for them to sleep before. I don't think I read that last part right. Maggie did not sleep as much as run over unceasing thoughts of the revelations of the evening. And by the time she had thought them over with, the fire had fallen to embers, and the cold of the night was then what kept her awake. And so she rose from her bundle to claim another blanket from the chest by the door. Crossing the room, she peered into her sister's bed. She found her facing a window, curled up about a pillow as she had when they were children. And out of the darkness behind, Vale whispered, Maggie? Maggie winced and turned, and crept back to her bundle, kneeling beside the girl. I thought you were asleep. I heard you wake up. I heard you get up. I wanted to know if you could get me one more blanket. Yes, I can. And so Maggie once more got up and went to the chest, grabbing 2 blankets. Yet briefly she saw movement in the bedroom and stopped. She saw Amarilla stir from her bed and sit up, staring out at the moons, but she continued past. Are you sure she's alright? No. Why don't you talk to her? It is plain that she is under some stress and she wishes to handle it in her own way. You don't seem so sure. I am not. Then you should talk to her. Maggie thought for a moment. The ember snapped as she spoke. Perhaps what I say will not matter. She has done this much on her own and she is strong. We'll get through this. She'll get through this. And I'm not sure how to proceed besides. Vale stared the vain woman down, seeking some expression that might reveal some ounce of what went on in her head, but nothing was apparent. You know her best, I think. Maggie nodded and tossed one of the blankets over Vale. Soon, Vale drifted into slumber. Maggie slept fitfully. Orange light shone directly upon Maggie's closed eyes and pried them open. Slowly, she sat up and seeing a sleeping Vale beside her, she got up with as much stealth as she could muster. But Maggie did not seek to wake her or her sister. She found instead some papers from her bag and took also a pen and an ink bottle. Set herself up on the kitchen table for a quick bit of writing. Just before she had finished, Amarilla, yawning, stumbled into the main hall, and her footsteps had the veil up before long. Maggie jotted her last thought and folded the paper, then stood up. We have been too long here, I think. You're leaving before breakfast? I must insist we start soon, lest our trip back will take several hours more. And they could hear Vale huff in annoyance. Fair point, you might make it before midday, though I doubt your stomachs will appreciate the lack of provisions. Before you leave, I will fetch you something. Vale groaned out from beneath the blankets. She blinked in the morning sun and smoothed her own hair, which had been flattened on one side, not unlike an anvil in appearance. Amarilla set before them 2 bags of food and filled their canteens, which with more of the pink juice they had tasted the previous night. She saw them off to their carriage and embraced each in return. But one thing for the pair of you. For the young lady, a flower of the cactus, of whose fruit you enjoyed, it is very much not the flower in your book, but I think it is pretty enough for pressing. She handed to Vale a flower whose petals were deep red in the middle, which faded into a delicate pink. Vale smiled her and gave her a bow. Thanks, it's really pretty. I thought so. And for you? She handed Maggie a letter. I expect you'll see this to Mother and Father. I'd like them to visit when they like, as well as you too, of course, but I think you will bring the beer next time as payment for your debt occurred. Debt? Drinking all my red. Venlish stuff is hard to come by, you know, especially so in this country. Fair. Until next time, my doll. Vale saw Maggie wince, but she regained herself and wrote the directions on a little note which she placed onto the golem's head. It stirred to life, and Maggie had only just enough time to hop into the cab before it was off. They waved. Amarilla waved back and receded into the landscape. Vale immediately set into the food bag, finding it filled with some rolls and jam, of which neither she could place the flavor. They were pleasant enough, and when she had finished, she noticed Maggie had not touched her food. She simply stared out the window again. Why did you wince when she called you doll? It's nothing. Is that your nickname? Maggie remained silent and let the line of question come to an end, though Vale thought to tease her about it later. For now, the two were quiet again. The hours passed on, and it was past midday before they caught up to the moving city, and the golem had them back at the stable. And they trudged on through the bedlam and crowds, neither saying much for weariness of the road. And so they came upon the Postman's Guild, and Maggie relayed her news and requested transfer out of the town, citing her difficulties in traversing the place and the hostilities of the locals. Therefore, Maggie had her new orders, and she took Vale into another carriage, pulled by another golem, destined for another town in lands unknown to either of them. The journey continues. She didn't ask her sister anything. I do want to load back to that one point. And we'll see. Actually, I don't know whether... Yeah. Okay, let's see what happens when she asks that question. And then we'll go back and see if... See if the previous question choice matters at all in terms of ending. Lots of beer talky. It was then Vale decides she was having no more of these drunken ramblings, and she asked a question that had tugged at her for a while now. Weren't you a Vance? It's like, why aren't you a Vance? I am, can't you tell, girl? Amarilla grabbed a pair of loose leaves and stuck them above her ears, then tried desperately and unsuccessfully to hold in her laughter. This had Maggie chuckle a bit. To clarify, Vale, I am vain only by birth, and I was adopted into Amarilla's home. I'm sorry. It was so long ago, not to worry. Father found her while he was out hunting about our lands. She was remarkably thin. You could see the bones on her, which I thought rather unsettling at the time. I was wondering for a time. Anyway, our father found this dreadfully malnourished vain girl one day and brought her home, and Mother was initially hesitant, you know? You find a foreign child, you'll want to find their mother first and foremost, especially so for one of the feathered folk. So we clothed her and bathed her, and none claimed her, so we kept her. You speak of me as a stray dog. You'll not complain to me, sister. I fed you soup in those days, so yes, some gratitude is warranted. Now be silent, lest I reveal all the embarrassing details of your upbringing, which I shall proceed to do anyway. Maggie flicked a crumb of cheese at her sister, which bounced off her cheek without so much as a flinch. So given our resident Vane was to be one of the family, I took it upon myself to treat her as a proper lady of the house. Firstly, a lady does not speak, lest wisdom or counsel allow it. She took quite well to the first lesson, though gives neither wisdom nor counsel when asked. Not wholly successful, but I was 8 or 9, expecting perfection of a child. Psh! So you're nobility? Why do you live in this house? It seemed as if, for the briefest of seconds, Amarilla winced. Well, one such as I, who stands out even without being the girl with the Venlish sister, should get away. And one should depart their home and journey once in a while to keep their mind off from getting too stuffy, wouldn't you say? I've been on lots of journeys, yes. Vale added with a tone of pride. Truly then, I must be less well-traveled than you, young miss, as I have been from the home only thrice, this being the 3rd time, though it has been the shortest. I've been out. Vale went over the memories in her head. There was the time her father had taken the family to see a group of murmurs performing a mile outside the village, which was itself miles from her home. Her father had to borrow a horse to carry them to that, and there was the time her mother and father accompanied her to the woods in search of flowers she had spotted in her book. And as well, there was a mill several miles from home she had to sneak out to get to, and her parents had yet to find out about that. Well, it is plain from your pause you have me beat. It is odd indeed for a child to have traveled more so than I. I must change this. But who's gonna look after your plants? Well, I meant not that I would travel anytime soon. And apart from that, they were around before me, and they'll be around when I'm gone. This is the way of things. We humans are very much transient in this world. Vale did not understand the last part so much, so she looked to Maggie. But I'll bet Maggie has us both beat. Maggie finally looked up from her mug, disrupted from her thoughts. You've been lots of places, right? Indeed. An obvious defeat to us both. Is that a complaint? Only that you cease to elaborate fully about your quests. What more is there to say when all of the lands bleed into one another? Nothing perhaps stands out among all. Some things do. Amarilla huffed, and it was plain to her the conversation had reached its end. Amarilla, you say you're simply on vacation, but I feel you're not being entirely truthful. Nonsense. One does not begin a garden in a temporary place, and furthermore, your home breaks down and you refuse help to get it running again? It isn't like you to leave a thing broken and simply adapt to it. Is something the matter? Unease crossed her sister's face. Maggie need only press her further, but did she really feel it necessary? Would this not create some sort of strain between them? Ooh, choices. Where's the thing? Here it is. I like the little sketches around. They're just so silly. I mean, presser, it is, important that we figure this out. Because if there's something wrong at home, we want to know. Her chest was hot, and she pressed her question anyway. Sister, please tell me what is the matter. Are you sick? In trouble? Nothing of the sort, nothing at all. Amarella waved her hand as if to shoo away the question, but she slumped back into her seat, thoughtful, and as quiet as she had ever been, and at length she spoke. Have ever you known to be a person known for another's fame? Is your identity tied to that of your family? Can one truly be their own person? I don't understand. I know this because you know me as Amarella, your sister, and father and mother know me as Amarella, their daughter, yet to everyone else, I am the woman with the Venlish sister. At home, I have ceased to be me, so much as me and you, if you follow, and it is this fact that vexes me. You of all understand that I should source my frustrations in the ignorance of others when they lie before me each day. I could go to the market, walk among our gardens, and the servants and common folk all think one and the same. When my identity relies upon the existence of another person, I fear I may lose my sense of self, or perhaps it was never particularly strong to begin with. Maggie said nothing, but the quizzical frown on her face spurred Amarella to continue. I wish for solitude as a means of separation and definition. Are you throwing away your family? No, dearest sister, nothing so extreme. I seek exile for a time to become me, for the thankful silence missing at home. The country here is so very quiet and peaceful, a difficult land to be sure, but I find it agreeable. I feel it allows me moments of reflection I sorely needed with mother and father. Maggie, normally scarce for words, was now wholly deprived of them, and Vale could barely follow the conversation, and therefore said nothing. Amarella smiled softly. It is late, and the drinks have begun to wear away. The pair of you may rest here the night, and don't refuse my offer, Maggie, I insist. The way back will be long, and longer still in the morning. You'll find better rest under this roof than that wobbly carriage. She pointed at a chest by the door and continued, There you may find blankets, and I have a spare bedroll for the young miss. I trust you have your own? I have one, yes. I will return. People group me with my sister. Kinda see what she means, though. Yeah. Well, we found out. We found out why she's out here. She's gotta be her own person, basically. Or at least feel like herself. Without her, without anybody else around, which makes sense. That's not a, how do they say? Not a crazy thing. Not a wild prospect. Amarella withdrew to another room and came back with a roll of down for Vale to sleep on. They sat themselves up before the fireplace, which had begun to die down a little. Maggie tossed on another log for them to sleep before. Maggie did not sleep as much as run over unceasing thoughts of the revelations of the evening, and by the time she had thought them over with, the fire had fallen to embers, and the cold of the night was then what kept her awake, and so she rose from her bundle to claim another blanket from the chest by the door. Crossing the room, she peered into her sister's bed. She found her facing a window, curled up about a pillow as she had when they were children. And out of the darkness, Vale whispered, Maggie? Maggie winced and turned and crept back to her bundle, kneeling beside the girl. I thought you were asleep. I heard you get up. I wanted to know if you could get me One more blanket? Yes, I can. And so Maggie once more got up and went to the chest, grabbing 2 blankets, yet briefly she saw movement in the other room and stopped. She saw Amarella stir from her bed and sit up, staring out at the moons. But she continued past. Are you sure she's alright? No. Why don't you talk to her? It is plain she is under some duress and she wishes to handle it on her own way. You don't seem so sure. I am not. Then you should talk to her. Maggie looked to the doorway. She held her gaze there, and then she got up. I was about to wonder whether this was going to be the same. The Vendish woman knocked at the doorway, and Amarella turned with a start. Trouble sleeping? Yes. Too much to drink, as I have. Too much think, actually. Well, you were always one more of thought and action than words. Maggie sat beside her sister and stared out at the moon, searching for a way to begin what she wanted to say, the way she had done since first she laid down in front of the fire. Do you regret me as a sister? Why ever would you think that? What you've said tonight about your identity being tied to me, was that some sign of regret? It was in a way, but never because of you, Maggie. If I could grow up with you once more, twice more, thrice, and 1,000 times more, I would do so happily. It is not your burden to bear the misgivings of your elder sister. Misgivings are my job. Yet you have regrets. Regrets that I am in the minds of others an elder sister more than I am my own person, if you understand. And your solution is exile? Amarella paused and drew a deep breath. I have always cherished my own company, Maggie. Understand, though I love you and I love mother and father, it is others I wish separations from. I find the company of most folk bothersome at worst, exhausting at best. A feeling that seems to have compounded since leaving the city, though I had originally come here to disappear into the mass. But here, alone under the stars in the silence, I am nothing. I am not Amarella of the House of Tewksford. I am not Amarella the barkeep. I am a rock of the land. I am a shrub upon the earth. I disappear in the truest sense of the word. Men, they cling together and form society. They collect into great and stinking cities and gossiping and grape about and tell tales and falsehoods to escape their mortalities. Distractions to forget that they are merely motes of dust up before the march of time. It is folly, and these distractions are tiresome. I feel I must behave as a doll tied to strings. Out there, though, there is no civilization to hide my fear of insignificance. One simply becomes the landscape, and you already do not matter. It is honest. There are no reassurances or platitudes. This is life, and there's not. I find comfort in this. Perhaps unusual as it may be, the solitude does me good. I've never slept better, save this night, and I found again my love of gardening. At least, to refresh my humanity, I will remain here. And I say again, this is no fault of yours, or mother or father. Slowly, Maggie nodded. I suppose I understand some of what you say. I'm in my wanderings. I have often felt a calm when I am alone. But I always had a companion in training, and after completing it, I suppose I yearned for such again. It is well to have someone to share words with, and to keep your back covered in the sinister lands. And I suppose in that way I had not realized you could be different. Having straight hair is so much easier than wavy hair. You love conditioner? Welcome back, Yuki. Welcome back. You come back at a somewhat melancholic time when two sisters talk about things. But welcome, you have returned. Conditioner is nice, makes the hair soft and nice. Amarella stretched and fell back onto her mattress. A shock to growing up, isn't it? To find those you grew up among are not of a like mind after all. Yes, you have. Maggie fell back the same way. Indeed. In silence, they lay there, staring at the ceiling. For the first time this night, Maggie had a clear head and thought she could fall asleep like this, but Amarilla ended the silence. And so you come upon a young Vale on her mission to locate a mysterious flower. Your hair is a disaster without conditioner. I can only imagine. I'm sort of letting my hair grow out a little bit more. Kind of want to see if I can afro it out a little. She is to be your companion on the road. Until she finds her flower, yes. And it is not for the desire of children that you carry her along. Maggie elbowed her sister in the rib, which elicited a pained grunt and a little giggle afterward. But for how long will she travel with you? How long is it now? Not long, not like nowhere near as long as yours. Just long for me. As in, it's just kind of like I got a poof for a head. Can't say. Then if ever the day comes to see her home, will you? I may. Then I dare say drowsiness will soon take me off as well. The bed is not large enough for two, and certainly not a full-grown vain woman. Maggie heaved herself up and re-entered the main room, where Vale soon snoozed by the dying embers. She lifted up one of the blankets she had grabbed earlier and gingerly placed it over the sleeping girl. Maggie, too, was asleep soon enough. Orange light shone directly. Orange light. There we go. Orange light shone directly upon Maggie's closed eyes and pried them open. Slowly, she sat up, and seeing Vale asleep beside her, she got up with as much stealth as she could muster. But Maggie did not seek to wake her nor her sister. She found instead some papers from her bag and took also a pen and ink bottle, and set herself up on the kitchen table for a quick bit of writing. Just before she had finished, Amarilla, yawning, stumbled into the main hall, and her footsteps had Vale up before long. Excuse me, your internet has died. Oh no! No, Yuki, no! Not your internet! Maybe it's my internet. Let me check. Okay, it's not my internet this time. And why there's questions... Why? How long? Oh, I thought that was like the previous message. Not that long, like I said. It's just I have a poofy head. Right now, my head is just kind of a puff. It is springtime and summertime, so, you know, I kind of go Bolaro mode a lot more, but I am curious on whether I can grow a full-on afro. That would be kind of funny. Maggie jotted her last thought and folded the paper, then stood up. We have been too long here, I think. You're leaving before breakfast? I must insist we start soon, lest our trip back will take several more hours. They could hear Vale huff in annoyance. Fair point, you might make it more midday, though I doubt your stomachs will appreciate the lack of some provisions before you leave. I will fetch you something. Vale groaned out from beneath the blankets. She blinked in the morning sun and smoothed out her hair, which had been flattened on one side, not unlike an anvil in appearance. Amarilla set before them 2 bags of food, and filled their canteens with more of the pink juice that they had tasted the previous night. She saw them off to their carriage and embraced each in turn. But one thing, for the pair of you. For the young lady of flower of the cactus, of whose fruit you enjoyed, it is very much not the flower in your book, but I think it is pretty enough for pressing. She handed the veil of flower, whose petals were a deep red in the middle, which faded into a delicate pink. Vale smiled and gave her a bow. Blah. Thanks, it's really pretty. I thought so. And for you, she handed Maggie a letter. I expect you to see this to Mother and Father. I'd like them to visit and when they like, as well as you two, of course. But I think you will bring the beer next time as payment for your debt occurred. A debt? Drinking my red. Venlish stuff is hard to come by, you know, especially so in this country. Fair. Until next time, my doll. Vale saw Maggie wince, but she regained herself and wrote directions on a little note, which she placed onto the golem's head. It stirred to life, and Maggie only had just enough time to pop onto the cab before it was off. They moved. Amarilla waved back. They waved, Amarilla waved back, and she receded into the landscape. Or as they receded. I'm misreading the hell out of this. Vale immediately set into the food bag, finding it filled with some rolls and jam of which neither she could place the flavor. They were pleasant enough, and when she had finished, she noticed Maggie not touched her food. She simply stared out the window again. Why did you wince when she called you doll? It's nothing. Is that your nickname? Maggie remained silent and let the line of question come to an end, though Vale thought to tease her about it later. For now, the two were quiet again. But after some time passed, Vale spoke up. Maggie? Could I have some paper? I want to write a letter. Of course. Maggie pulled a sheaf of papers from her bag, and Vale took them. Once again, neither spoke, and all sound could be heard was the scratching of charcoal on paper, and the clunk of wheels and the groaning of the carriage walls. When Vale completed her letter, she took the flower Amarilla had given her and pressed it carefully against the clean paper, folding it softly and within her letter, which she handed to Maggie. Maggie then showed her the proper way to address it and handed her some sealing wax and stamped it once complete. Vale beheld her completed letter in reverence before handing it off to the postman. Well done. My first letter. First of many. And that's the second ending. The hours passed on, and it was past midday before they caught up the morning city, and the golem had them back at the stable. They trudged on through the bedlam and crowds, neither saying much for weariness of the road. And so they came upon the Postman's Guild, and Maggie relayed her news and requested transfer out of the town, citing her difficulties in traversing the place and the hostilities of the locals. Therefore, Maggie had her new orders, and she took Vale into another carriage pulled by another golem, destined for another town and lands unknown to either of them. The journey continues. That one was nice too, I liked it. And we got both of the endings in relatively quick succession. Let me do a little stretch. Oh, goodness gracious me. What a little story. What a little story. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both, and now I must find my lost coin that I fucking dropped somewhere. I'm like looking at the floor. I have no clue where this thing could have gone. It'd be funny. Hold on, it's not under... No, I don't think it's under my share. It's gotta be fucking somewhere around here, and I gotta get something to eat. So, I bid thee farewell, kindred. I thank you too for being here. It was lovely having the two of you here to share a little bit of this story and whatnot. I shall see you all tomorrow. You know, I bid thee farewell like always. May the gods bless you. May the stars shine in your honor. I will feast. I hope you too. You know, take care of yourselves. Have a great time. And bye-bye.